Yes.
It's gonna be a beautiful day.
Oh, I got this for sure. But as long as you're handing out, you can search this out.
All right. Oh. It's working now. All right, there was an issue with the computers.
Okay.
But now they all of a sudden they're working. They know we called you and they didn't want to face you. The computers did not. So they're like, we'll work now. Yeah. So it's working now. And I'm not sure which system I'm on. Okay, we're going to break exactly at 12. Yes.
We will come in and check all the Wi-Fi.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. You guys are like the bat signal. I called you and bam, you're here.
It's a lot nicer than before, but you know that.
Yes.
Be real quick.
All right. Thank you guys. All right. You too.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. I'm going to call the docket. So if everyone can please take a seat. When I call your name, if you can stand, please stand so that I'll know you're present. If you don't stand or you don't answer, I'm going to assume you're not here and a warrant may be issued for your arrest. John Deaver.
Here, ma'am.
Thank you. Thomas Marsh is in custody. Mark Pena. Mark Anthony Pena. Michael Montoya.
I saw Mr. Callahan take out his client.
Okay, all right, thank you. Michael Montoya.
He's in custody. Council President.
Thank you. Jarbe Wyans custody, Tremonte Singleton custody, Sebastian Castillo custody. Thomas Bell custody. Justin Schermerhorn custody. Igor Alinsky. Thank you. Ramon Brooks custody. Paul Harley Duncan. All right, thank you. Jesus Garza. Alejandro Trevino. Thank you. John Sanchez. Guadalupe Gutierrez. Fanny Stewart, custody. Andy Fuentes. Robert Halstead. That's 11. Lisa Garza. Christopher Davis, custody. Dean Villarreal. Eduardo Guarda. Jan Torres is in custody. Christopher Cantu, custody. Mary Diaz. Manoa Witten. Where? Okay. Kayla Connor. Arturo Contreras is in custody. Thank you. Jan Torres Rivera, custody. Lawrence Medellin, custody. David Duenas. I know I'm mispronouncing the last name. Oh, he's to be by Zoom. Jonathan Yost, custody. Stephen Wahlberger.
You hear, Judge.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone who's present and your name was not called? Yes, what's your name? Roberto Mendoza? Do you know who your attorney is? Neil who? All right. Do you know your case number or SID number?
1170-371.
1170371? All right, just give us a moment. Anyone else who came in later, your name wasn't called? Yes. What's your name? That's not helping me. First? Dean Villarreal. All right, you need to take a seat on the first row. All right, everyone, we're going to start up a jury trial at 1:30. So we were going to take our hard break at noon. These are the rules of the court. On this side is criminal trial division. The files are over there. Just take your file, sit it at their table, have a seat. They're going to call you in the order of appearance. On this side is family violence. The same thing. Take their file, put it on their desk, have a seat. Probation officer is at the back. You all can see she has a very small space. So please do not overcrowd that space. She doesn't have any doors or windows to give her relief. So we're going to make sure that everybody has a great day today with their chosen professions. Counsels, if you have someone who is in custody and you request that person from the deputy, do not leave the courtroom, because for security issues, the deputies can only bring out so many people. And if you request your person and you leave, then you're being, what my mom would say, selfish for other attorneys who need people and they can't get them because your person is here. If you need an interpreter, and by need an interpreter, I mean, if your client is going to be communicating with the court, which if they're on docket today, they will be, and English is not their first language and they need an interpreter, you need to call to have the interpreter brought down. Once the interpreter has been called, do not leave the courtroom because we have so few interpreters. And if you leave the courtroom, they're going to be here wondering where you are. Today is, my understanding, Thursday. It's a beautiful day outside, not too hot, which is unusual for San Antonio. We're closer to Friday than we were yesterday, so we have a lot to be happy about. So everyone, when you confer, please be kind and patient to each other. If you see your patience is waning, to the male attorneys, I know in your suit coat jackets, you have that hidden pocket on the inside, take it out, share it. I don't have any pockets today, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to be patient and kind. All right, everyone, please confer. And Mr. Ron Ross, if you're ready for the ruling on your, all right, if you'll have your client come up. Can I see Wallbarker?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I got two students here today.
All right, who is the state on Stephen Wallbarker? All right, we're going to go on the record in 2023 CR 0888 and 2023 CR 0889, State of Texas versus Stephen Wayne Wallbarker. Can I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Daniel Escobar for the state of Texas.
And Ron Ross for defendant.
And are you Mr. Wallbarker?
Yes.
All right. So, Mr. Wallbarker, I want you to know that whenever a motion to suppress is filed before the court and I hear it, I listen to everything. I listen to arguments from both sides. So I don't take these matters lightly. And for me, it's not a pro forma that, oh, I'm just watching this and I'm going to deny it, or I'm just watching it and I'm going to grant it. I actually take my time, look through it. I know the law on the issue, but even though I know the law on the issue, I still will go back and do more research to make sure that there's nothing new that has happened. All right. So, Mr. Wallbarker, I reviewed everything. I reviewed the videos that were admitted to evidence. And in each case, I'm going to deny your motion to suppress. Okay.
Judge, I would request the court make findings of fact and conclusions of law and file those.
All right, the court will. All right, so what I'm going to do is let me give you a new date to come back. State, did you make an offer in this case?
Oh, we did, Judge.
All right, so what I'm going to do is give you a new date to come back, and that will be your plea deadline date.
Yes, ma'am.
And we will do it. Let me see.
June 1 through 12, I have vacation notice on file.
June 1 through 12.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so what I'll do is I'll call you back on June 15th. And Mr. Ross, I'll have those findings for you most likely before that date.
Appreciate it.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Can you give them a reset form? All right.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm not the one that made it.
Second chair, okay, make sure there's all the chair.
Mr. Schermerhorn?
I guess.
All right, who's here for Mark Anthony Pena? Okay. All right, if you come forward. All right, court is calling 2023 CR 0037, State of Texas versus Mark Anthony Pena. Could I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Travis Banks in the state of Texas.
Dennis Callahan for defense.
All right, Mr. Pena, you entered a plea of guilty to count 2. According to the plea bargaining agreement, punishment is to be assessed at a cap of 30 years in the prison. There's a $1,500 fine, and the state is opposing your application. Have both parties had a chance to review the PSI report, state?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Any witnesses, state?
State has no witnesses, Your Honor.
Defense, any witnesses?
No, Your Honor, only allocution and letters and corroborative evidence of his physical health.
All right. State, do you have any evidence to present in the way of documents or no?
Nothing other than what's in the PSI, Your Honor.
All right. And so so both parties know, and I know you all are aware, I read the entirety of the PSI report. Defense, you have documents for the court to review?
This first one is from the defendant's mother, Your Honor.
Any objections, state?
No objections from the state, and the state has reviewed that.
Okay.
The second one is corroborating the PSI information regarding stage 4 kidney disease of the defendant. Diagnosis is in the top right-hand corner of the documents.
All right, everyone, just give me a moment while I read the documents that have been presented. All right, the court has reviewed the documents presented by the defense. The court will hear argument.
Your Honor, considering his health, also considering my understanding that the complainant's present disposition was exhibited prior to the time that she ever met the defendant. She was that way.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Could everyone please whisper? I'm
She
sorry.
was that way before the defendant met her. Physical problems, the mental problems that she has, cutting herself, that existed long before the defendant was involved in her life. I suggest to the court respectfully that you give deferred adjudication 180 days in jail, particularly because of the lack of prior record and also stage 4. He's not going to live very much longer. And if he goes to prison, he won't get the treatment that he needs. That's all, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I'll be brief, and as you've already read the PSI, I just want to point out that some of the language that he's using in his PSI amounts to him minimizing his guilt. He says that the allegations against him are exaggerated, that he just wants to move on with his life, and that he doesn't want it to seem like he doesn't care, which would imply that he doesn't care. He just doesn't want the court to realize that. But I would remind the court in his minimization of guilt that this is a case where the defendant's penis was, a photo of the defendant's penis was found on the complaining witness's phone, and that it was eventually learned that the defendant got the complainant to give him oral sex and did have vaginal sex with the complainant starting on her birthday in 2020 when she was born in 2008. So she would have been 12 years old at that time. And the state is asking the court to consider that and sentencing the defendant and to meet the cap at 30 years. TBC.
All right. And is there anything you wish to say, Mr. Pena?
Your Honor,
If there's something you want to say, you're going to be subject to cross-examination.
I'm very nervous. I don't know what to say. I love my family. As my attorney mentioned, these issues, when I met April, she's 9 years old, and I don't want to speak bad of the character. I'm not trying to minimize anything, or I do care. I cared about them very much. I was in their lives since.
But I mean, here's the problem. The problem is you have a child, and you are engaging in inappropriate contact with the child, inappropriate sexual contact with the child. Do you understand?
I understand, Your Honor. I understand what was said. I understand.
You want to raise your right hand for me, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, you can lower your hand, state your name for the record.
Mark, Antonio Pena.
All right. Counsel, do you wish for your client to testify, or you want to talk to him about testifying before?
No, Your
He
Honor,
subjects-
all I would ask the court to consider his allocution.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Pena, as I said before, if you wish to give testimony and tell me what I should do or what you think would be appropriate in this case, then you're going to subject yourself to cross-examination. So that means that the state will be allowed to ask questions of you. So do you wish to continue to speak to the court? I mean, it's up to you.
I do, but I don't want to. I'm not a very good public speaker or speaker.
Oh, nobody's a public. Let me just tell you, I don't hold it against people that they're not good public speakers. I'm just here to listen
Just often say.
and then make a decision on what's before me. So the fact that You're not a good public speaker is not something that I will hold against you.
Yes, I just mean, I often say things the wrong way. I don't mean them.
So do you wish to speak or no? Mr. Kellen, he's looking towards you for advice.
It sounds like.
We have nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. All right, as previously stated, the court has reviewed the PSI report. The court has reviewed the documents that have been tendered to the court for review by the defense. The court is going to deny your application. The court will find you guilty. Does anyone wish to speak to the cap? The state is asking for 30 years.
I wish to respectfully suggest to the court 5 years, Your Honor, considering his lack of record, considering his poor health right now.
State, what are you requesting?
Your Honor, the state is asking for the full 30 years. The defendant is clearly not accepted his guilt in this case. He's in a serious denial and saying that the claims are against him are exaggerated. And the court should assess the full sentence of 30 years.
May I address the court?
Yes.
He would like to make further elocution, Your Honor.
All right. All right. Well, Mr. Pena, just know that the court has already found you guilty. Again, if you wish to speak to the court, then you will be subjected to cross-examination. Do you wish to say something to the court?
I'm already found guilty. I can't, nothing will change.
No, I'm not going to grant your application for deferred adjudication. All right. The court will find you guilty. There's to be Chapter 62 compliance, no contact with the complainant. I considered the health issues that counsel has spoken to me about. There's going to be a $1,500 fine, time and money will run concurrent. Court will sentence you to 25 years in the prison. Give you credit for any time served. I'm going to show you what's entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it? And did you sign it?
Yes.
All right, because this is a plea bargaining agreement, because I followed your plea bargaining agreement, and because you waive your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. And also because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. Do you understand? All right, we can go off the record. Mr. Pena, I want you to know that I considered the lack of criminal history. I considered the fact that you had been working, that you never stopped working, and I considered your health conditions, but I also have to weigh that against all evidence that's presented to me. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Thank you, counsel.
Your Honor, we have a big impact statement on this case.
All right, are they here?
They are here, yes, Your Honor.
All right. All right, it's probably best if she stay, no, she needs to stay behind the fence. Yes.
Well, I'm glad you got what you're discussing. You were in this outside. Very disgusting. That you contributed nothing to society. And you just stand here and take advantage of a little girl. Her entire life. I don't even know. She even. Not only that, you're so close. Disgusting. I'm glad
Who's here? I'm Manoa Witten. Hello, counsel.
Judge.
Good morning. All right, so this is I'm sorry. Ah, okay. Oh, you cannot?
Can you put the mic closer?
Yes. I'm sorry. I guess I've been whispering today. All right, so the defendant is asking on this motion to modify probation that the no unsupervised contact order be removed as it relates to children.
Yes, Judge, and the reason being is.
Well, first, have you conferred with the state?
I have not conferred with the state.
All right, if you'll confer with the state,
All right.
and while you're conferring with the state, probation, can I get a UA from Mr. Witten?
Deputy.
Yes. Yeah. It is. All right, just have a seat. They're going to give me a UA.
Yes.
Who's here on Sebastian Castillo? All right, thank you.
Yes, but I worked it out. It's gonna be your hand. See, it's your hand. You first. We're ready. How are you both? Oh. Yeah, he's right over here. Yeah, we're.
Judge, I confer with the state. They don't have any objection.
All right, we're just waiting for a UA from your client and then we'll take it up. Thank you.
Yeah, it was.
Okay. No problem. Are the parties ready on Ramon Brooks?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. Where's Mr. Brooks? Mr. Brooks, come down.
That's what I thought they put it there.
All right, I need everyone to please whisper. Court is calling 2021 CR 7353, State of Texas versus Ramon Brooks. Can I have the parties announced for the record for the state?
Jason Garahan, Your Honor.
Defense?
Thomas Beck for defendant.
Are you Mr. Brooks?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Brooks, I'm showing you was entitled Motion to Enter Adjudication of Guilt and Revoke Community Supervision. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it?
Yes, just a moment.
I'm sorry, what?
Yes.
All right. Are you the same Ramon Brooks who was placed on deferred adjudication in 2021 CR 7353 for the offense of theft from person on September 10th, 2021 for a period of 3 years? Is that you?
Yes, I am.
State?
Yes, Your Honor, violated condition number 43 on or about the 14th day of April 2023 in Bear County, Texas. The defendant Ramon Brooks did in there fail to comply with the rules, regulations, or instructions of the Bear County Community Supervision and Correction Department's duly diagnosed residential facility, and that the defendant has refused to participate in the DDRF program services in violation of condition number 43.
How do you plead to that? True or not true?
Sure.
Did you understand by pleading true to violation of condition number 43, the court could find it true, grant the motion, find you guilty, and sentence you up to 2 years in the state jail facility and up to $10,000 fine?
Yes,
Knowing that, do you still wish to plead true to violation of condition number 43?
I still plead true.
All right. Is there an agreement?
Yes, there is, Your Honor.
And what is the agreement?
It is to adjudicate guilt and revoke his community supervision, sentence him to 18 months in the state jail facility.
Is that the agreement?
That is the agreement, Your Honor. We would ask for credit for time served.
All right, Mr. Brooks, you want to raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can lower your hand, state your name for the record, please.
Ramon Brooks.
All right, Mr. Brooks, why are you not participating in DDRF?
So my reason was to come back and explain to you that probation was not going to be the best for me because of my conditions outside of jail. They aren't the best of conditions as far as me being homeless and without any credentials. And right now I'm working with state officials to try and get my stuff back. Fortunately, I didn't have enough time before I was revoked on probation. So I was sent back, and that's why I came back from the program to explain to you that probation there might be something else besides probation that I'm going to see.
All right, so what is your mental health diagnosis?
I'm under psychiatric medication as well. I have a history for that. So
Do you know what medications you're on or what you're taking them for?
yes,
What are you taking them for?
for anxiety, schizophrenia, I was told that I had, and those two are the main ones. Bipolar come into.
All right, so where is your family?
My family live here now. They just moved, but they came back. First, I couldn't reach them, but now I can have reach of them. So that's a good thing.
All right, so what's your relationship with your family?
My relationship, my status is a good status.
And is your family going to help you with regards to your medications and making sure that you're seeing a psychiatrist?
Yes, yes, they will.
All right, and which your family members, who's here now?
My mother never met my father. Stepfather's been there since I was a child.
All right, I will tell you, state defense with regards to your agreement, this is my concern. My concern is he has mental health issues and they're not being addressed. And he's telling me that his diagnosis is schizophrenia, bipolar. And so what I'm anticipating happening is if I sentence him to 18 months, I don't know how much time he has in, but he's going to go to the state jail facility if he doesn't have his completed time done. They're going to put him wherever they're going to put him. And if he doesn't take his meds at the facility, there's going to be a case that's going to be issued where they're going to have to file motions to have a judge order that he take his medications. And then he's going to be released from the state jail facility because nobody's going to hold him at the state jail facility because he's unstable. And he's going to be released back into society without his medications, without anything. And then we're going to be back here, maybe not in my court, Mr. Brooks, but maybe in somebody else's court for a new case. So I understand that he wasn't following rules at DDRF. Probation, do you know what specific rules, or does anybody know the specific rules he wasn't following at DDRF? Thank you.
think he does qualify for safety.
Okay.
Probation on that.
Well, we're going to see what I can come up with.
From notes, it is stating that he minutes leave. He said that, he no longer wanted to remain in the program and wanted to, he was ready to do whatever it was necessary to leave.
All right. So, Mr. Brooks, it appears to the court that you are competent, but you have to look at the big picture. And it seems to the court that you're trying to take the path of least resistance, like the path that's quickest for you. But I can tell you what's going to end up happening is once you get off your medications, which more likely than not you will, because you're going to be like, I'm feeling great, I don't need these medications. You're going to stop taking those. And if you commit another offense, who knows where you're going to be, who knows what it's going to be, and you may end up in prison for a long time. We just had someone here in this court for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. And you know what their problem was? The state hospital released them when they should not have released them. And now they're doing, I think, 13 or 12 years at the prison now. So in the court's eyes, you should not be just going to the state jail facility, then getting out, because you're not going to be prepared. So if you want, I can follow this agreement and sentence you to the 18 months, or I can see about getting you some treatment, which is what you need. You need treatment for your mental health issues. Mental health issues are just like any other issue that people have, be it cancer, be it, diabetes or whatever it may be. I don't consider people who have mental health issues, I don't consider it's their fault. It's not, oh, let me go to the grocery store. I'm going to pick up some mental health issues on aisle 4. I don't believe that, but you need help. And you're trying to take the path of least resistance, because your whole thing is, I need to get my ID. You'll be able to get your ID. You don't need your ID at DDRF. And that's where I'm sending you. You're going back there and you're going to follow through on everything. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm going to keep my eye on you, because I'm going to make sure that I get updates.
Does he qualify for the same program again?
Yes, I'm going to ask that he be re-referred.
And we would certainly hope that you would not find him guilty and leave him on deferred. He's not a convicted felon.
No, I'm not going to find him guilty. You're going to go back to DDRF, okay? And here's the thing. I'm sending you back there and I'm going to expect you to actively participate. Do you understand? If there's an issue with you and you say you're working on your ID or something of that nature, guess what? Probation has programs that can help you get your identification. But you don't need your identification at DDRF, because they know it's you, because I'm telling them it's you and you have your SIT number.
The whole reason I came back was to refuse, is because I refused the program, but it was because I didn't want to get into probation with all the problems I had on outside of jail. I tried probation for the first time and I thought that it would work out, but it didn't exactly work out my way. So I wanted to do.
No, explain. Here's the thing. You say that when you get out, you don't want to be on probation and have the issues you have on the outside, right?
Yes.
If I send you to prison and you get out, you're still going to have those same issues on the outside. The only issues that's not going to be there is the supervision, which I'm not inclined to release you on probation, because you haven't done anything. You haven't been successful on this probation at all. And I'm sympathetic and empathetic to the fact that there are some mental health issues here, but it's not going to be me sympathetic and empathetic towards you and giving you something less than. You understand? So what's going to happen is I'm denying this motion. You're going back to DDRF. If there's a problem with your identification or there's a problem with some of your living arrangements, you let us know. And probation, see if you can refer him to felony drug court as well, because I know they have dual diagnosis. And felony drug court, if they accept you, they'll be able to help you with your identification. They'll be able to help you with housing. They'll be able to help you with all of that.
Okay.
But I'm not going to give you the easy way out. And then guess what? If you come back and you haven't followed the court's instructions, I will hear arguments for both sides, but I will tell you the state and your counsel in all these probation cases, they come up with agreements. And sometimes I follow those agreements, sometimes I don't. But I want you to realize the agreements that they come up with, I don't have to follow. The contract you have for probation is with the court. It is not with your attorney and it's not with the state. You understand? So I'm denying the motion. You're going back to DDRF or either you're going to felony drug court. The end.
Okay.
All right. I'm doing this to help you so that nobody will see you back in a criminal court again. All right.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Brooks. So I'm going to deny the motion, altering the amend conditions to referral to GDRF and felony drug court. That'll be while in custody. And I'm going to make a notation on the docket sheet that you need help with your identification. Is that it? Probation, can you let probation know that he needs help obtaining his identification? And if felony drug court accepts you, let them know that you need help obtaining your identification and they'll make sure you get it.
Okay, and so with this, that means I'll be continuing probation, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So do we have the UA completed?
Negative.
Okay.
And I believe
And have
the
you
first
conferred with
one
the
you
state?
gave them earlier, she was negative, so that's 2 negatives in a row.
Okay. All right. Court is calling 2022 CR 4694, State of Texas versus Manoa Witten. Can I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Jason here.
Defense?
Gary Chirac.
Right. You can unfold your hands. That's okay. And are you Mr. Manoa Witten? All right. And then for the state?
Daniel Escobar, the state.
All right, state, the defense has filed a motion to modify conditions of probation. And he's saying that they're asking that the no unsupervised contact with children be lifted. The defendant has provided the court with negative UA. State?
Judge, we'd be in agreement with the motion. I mean, it sounds like it's his own children. He's just trying to be able to.
Okay. Probation, do you have any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Then the motion will be granted. And I see here that you are thinking about moving to Colorado Springs.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, that's where I'm from.
All right, is that Colorado Springs, Colorado?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, has he started doing his parenting classes?
He's finished it, Your Honor.
Yep.
Oh. Well, that's what you should have led with. If you want me to remove the no unsupervised contact with children, you have to lead with parenting classes is completed.
I paid all my fees. So.
I wouldn't, verification of that, there's nothing standing.
I've got the picture of the certificate.
Yeah, I sent it to my probation officer too, so he has it.
Okay. All right, your defense attorney is saying that you've completed it.
Yeah. Oh, there.
He's assuming that I can see that far. Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge.
All right, so if you wish to, so you're asking to transfer to Colorado? Are you asking for that today?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Your Honor. They've sold their house here. They're originally from there. They've purchased a property in Colorado waiting to close on it.
All right, so I'll grant the motion to modify conditions of probation. And then let me see. how long he's been on probation. Oh, not that long.
Yeah, it's been fairly recent.
All right, and probation also asked that its conditions be modified to transfer to Colorado Springs, Colorado. What is the county?
It's Black Forest.
Okay. And
I don't think so. You're dependent. I can't. They've got to move the uniform transfer. So
all right, is there anything else from either side? All right, thank you. You need to speak with probation so they can go over new conditions with you.
No problem. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. All right, who's here on Sebastian Castillo?
That's me again, Judge.
Bashan, do you need us to take a slight break so that you can do the other orders? I'm sorry? Okay, all right, it's Sebastian Johnny Castillo. Court is calling 2023 CR 0527, State of Texas versus Sebastian Johnny Castillo. Can I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Jason Garrett, Your Honor.
Defense,
Eric Chirac with the defendant.
are you Sebastian Castillo?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you entered a plea on March 30th to count 1, paragraph B, no contest. According to the plea bargaining agreement, punishment is to be assessed at 5 years in the prison. There's an affirmative finding of deadly weapon. State is not making any recommendations to your application. There's an affirmative finding of family violence, and then there's to be no contact with several parties. Did you have a chance to review the PSI report, counsel?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
State,
Yes.
any objections to the PSI report?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, the state is silent. So any witnesses, defense?
I just have my defendant.
All right, do you wish to call him?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, can you raise your right hand for me? Do you solemnly swear affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
You can lower your hand, state your name for the record.
Sebastian Johnny Castillo.
Defense,
Mr. Castillo, do you want a statement you want to make to the court?
I just like to say, I'm sorry to my mom, my brothers and sisters.
How old were you when this happened?
I was 17.
Okay, were there some family dynamics going on in this situation with your step parents and your siblings?
Yes, sir.
What was exactly going on? You recall?
I was being beaten and I got kicked out.
I'm sorry, you were being what?
Beaten. No further questions.
All right, who are you saying was beating you?
My stepfather.
And where's the proof of this?
Just his, were any police reports made on this?
No,
Well, did he tell the school?
You tell the school you were getting beaten?
I was kicked out and they went to withdraw me at the school and the cop was there. And whenever they were taking me back home, they kicked me out and I was out for 3 days.
No, my question still has not been answered. So he's saying that his stepfather was beating him at the home. So did he ever report it to the school? That's either yes or no. All right. So where's the proof? Because what I have is, I have him going to a home. I have him where they say that he threatened to shoot up the school. That's why the mother called. And then I have him going back to the home and they're saying that he pointed a gun on them.
Judge, I'm saying here that I think what led to this was they, for some reason, the step parents wanted him out of the situation. He denies that he ever made a threat to shoot up the school. He says that was a false threat. I think they just wanted him out of the house. When this happened, you were actually living with your grandparents. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And if you get probation, that's who you would live with?
Sir.
And when this happened, you were what, 17?
Yes, sir.
And do you do any alcohol or drugs?
No, sir.
Now, according to the police report, it says S1 and S2. S1 grabbed a handsaw. And you're S1. It says S1 grabbed a handsaw and attempted to saw through the lock to the gun safe. S1 then found a grinder and cut through the lock. S1 and S2 grabbed multiple guns from the safe and gathered them together. The cousins who went with S1 were waiting outside the laundry room with guns in their hands. S1 and S2 also gathered other listed items as well. Victim 3, 4, and 5 were all sitting in the living room sofa. Victim 3 said that S1 and S2 went into the living room and kitchen and had some of the guns pointing at them. S1 told victim 3 to shut the F up or he will shoot them. S1 and S2, along with S1's cousins, left the location with all the items he took. Once they left the location, V3, which is victim, locked the doors. Victim 2 arrived shortly after and called out to victim 3 to open the door. That was when victim 3 told victim 2 what happened. Victim 2 then called victim 1, who called the police to make a report. So, anybody want to address that? Because victim 3 is a juvenile. Victim 4 is a juvenile. Victim 5 is a juvenile. So,
You're shaking your head.
No, no.
are you saying you didn't take these items?
No, ma'am.
I mean, it's what you pled to. All right, is there anything else?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, I'll hear argument.
Judge, at the time of the incident, the defendant was 17 years old. It typically, it sounds like it was a family dispute matter. Allegations are of guns being pointed, no shots were fired. It's evident that the parents and stepmother and stepfather do not want him in the location. That's not a problem. He's young, he's got his whole life ahead of him. I think he realizes he made a mistake in that situation. Maybe his anger being removed from the family caused him to kind of have a moment of basically being stupid.
And see, I can understand his position if there were people in the home where this was not their stepfather as well. So this is what the court is going to do. Court is going to find you guilty, sentence you to 5 years in prison, give you credit for any time served. There's an affirmative finding of deadly weapon, an affirmative finding of family violence. There's to be no contact with Vivian Castillo, Self Castillo, Stephanie with an I, Castillo, Joel Poor, Doyle, and Oliver Castillo. With regards to the restitution amount, the court does not, they're asking for $45,000 in restitution. The court has nothing before it to suggest that restitution should be $45,000, and no information on restitution has been presented to the court, so the court is not ordering restitution. I'm going to show you what's entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal. You won't probably go around. Because this is a plea bargaining agreement, because I followed your plea bargaining agreement, and because you waived your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. And because this is an affirmative finding of family violence, and also because this is a conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, good luck to you. I know we're off the record. I know you're young, and 5 years seems like a lot of time.
Yes.
Time does go by quickly, but you need to start bettering yourself. If there is some type of mental health issue going on or some other issue that you have, drug issue, or some type of trauma that you've suffered, you can ask for help and they will give it to you. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, good luck to you.
Good luck.
Who's here on Thomas Marsh?
I am good. Ready?
All right, thank you. Court is calling 2022 CR 10886, State of Texas versus Thomas Glenn Marsh. Can I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Daniel Escobar for the state of Texas.
Warren Wolf, for Mr. Marsh.
Are you Thomas Marsh?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Marsh, you entered a plea of guilty on March 29th to the offense of possession of a controlled substance, penalty group 1 gram to 4 grams. According to the plea bargain agreement, punishments be assessed at 4 years in the prison. There are no applications for deferred, and the state is opposing your application for community supervision. Have both parties had a chance to review the PSI report, state?
Yes, Judge.
Defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objections to the PSI report, state?
No, Judge.
Defense?
No.
State, do you have any witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
Defense, any witnesses?
Yes, Mr. Marsh would like to address the court.
All right, can you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can lower your hand. Make sure you keep your voice up. If you could state your name for the record, please.
Thomas Marsh.
All right, defense.
Mr. Marsh, you had a chance to review the pre-sentence report,
Yes, sir.
and the question is, why should Judge Boyd trust you to be on probation and community supervision on this case, considering the fact that you've had some prior issues with probation? Could you tell the judge a little bit more about yourself, about why you think you could be successful on probation now?
I really recommend that's on probation because it would put me like face to face with whatever temptations I may have, and they'll fight on me in my face like that. And I've completed probation before in the past, and it kept me more in line and on top of things. I do have 2 jobs out there waiting for me to return.
Where are those jobs?
It's a place called Happy Day Cafe. It's a little place in Live Oak. And at Dog Stars, it's at a dog room. It's in University City right up the street. I reside with my significant other for 23 years. He's sober, completely sober. All of my using came from really, I guess, traumatic things. Like the first time I was just watching my grandfather go through chemo and everything, and that's when I learned that this left stuff.
And what year was that?
That was when he died. It was in 2012.
Okay.
And so then the next time is when my grandmother, I was watching my grandmother die, and that's when it was, I guess, a relapse you would call it, because in between all of that, I didn't really use. And so I think I'd be successful because I mean, I'm not planning on losing anybody else. I've already discontinued the use of the methamphetamine like before the new year started. Like this.
Did you know that the Tapavell suggests to the court that you do an inpatient treatment with follow-up afterwards? You want to do that?
If I must, I'd rather not be, or can we not have
Well, that's up to the judge. But that's the recommendation from the TAP eval. So if that's what that stands between you and going to prison, are you willing to do that?
Does that have to do with me right now?
Oh, yeah. You're on examination. Here's the thing, if you don't want to go to inpatient treatment, just let the court know.
Just due to health conditions and not knowing what.
Oh, here's the thing. The answer to that is either yes or no. And you know what? I don't see anybody who's not being sober and using drugs telling people, hey, let me make sure that before I use any of your drugs, that you're putting the right things in it, and that people, please wear your mask because COVID is an issue before I take your drugs and use them. Nobody's concerned about COVID when they're doing the puff pass. Nobody's concerned about COVID when they're taking a needle from somebody. I don't hear anybody saying that. So now when it's time for treatment and the hard work, people are saying, I'm concerned about health conditions. So when you were using, did you ask anybody if they had COVID?
But I didn't.
No, that's my question for you. When you were using drugs, did you ask anybody, before I take drugs from you, do you have COVID? Have you been following COVID protocols? Did you ever ask them that? But now when it comes time to potentially you going to treatment, your concern is about COVID.
I'm just concerned about being housed around a whole bunch.
Okay, no, I understand. Is there anything else?
No, Your Honor.
All right, this is what the court is going to do. The court is going to find you guilty, sentence you to 4 years in the prison. Take in consideration NIMAG number 701585, give you credit for any time served. If you wish, the court can have you placed in the therapeutic community, at least a recommendation for that. Would you like that?
Therapeutic community?
Yes. It doesn't increase your time that you're in the prison, but there's a potential for you to be placed in that program to help you with your drug issues.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, but you must request it. So I'm going to say therapeutic community. And I want you to know, I listened to what you were saying, but I also looked at your criminal history, and you've been given probation for drug cases and for DWIs for several times. All right, I'm showing you what's entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal. Did you review that with your attorney?
Yeah.
Did you understand it? And did you sign it?
Yes.
Because this is a plea bargaining agreement, because I followed your plea bargaining agreement, and because you waived your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. Do you understand? All right, we can go off the record. How old are you?
45.
All right, you're 45. How old is your partner?
It is 61.
All right, so you are like me. You're close to being in the twilight of your life. You're going to have to make a decision on what you're going to do with your rest of your life. Either you're going to be in and out of prisons and in and out of jail. You're going to get to the point where you're going to be considered a habitual. And what that means is when you're considered a habitual offender for some felonies, if you're convicted, your minimum is 25 years prison. Do you understand? All right, good luck to you. You're welcome. Who's here on Justin Schermerhorn?
Morning, Your Honor.
Good morning. Court is calling 2022 CR 6337, State of Texas versus Justin Scott Schermerhorn. Oh, and counsel, you're on this side.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. And your client is in the middle. What's happening with this case?
Defense is gonna ask for this.
All right.
Judge, he's here on an MTR.
Mhm.
We're at the informal stage at this point. I'm uncomfortable settling this without looking at a video that's involved in the new number ones on the case. I'm requesting that we reset next Thursday.
Okay. All right, Ms. Ferguson, can we recall this for Thursday of next week? Yes. All right, we'll be back on the 25th.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Who's here on Arturo Contreras Santos?
He's here for the state of Texas, Your Honor.
All right, the defense, before we go on the record, the state is asking for a continuance. Are you going to have any objections to the continuance?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, the court is calling 2022 CR 11150, State of Texas versus Arturo Angel Contreras Santos. Can I have parties announced for the record for the state,
Denise Harris for the state of Texas, Your Honor.
for the defense?
Seth Montalvo for the defense.
All right, and are you Arturo Santos?
Yes.
All right, the state has filed a motion for a continuance. State?
Yes, Your Honor. The state did file a motion for continuance on May 8th, 2023. In regards to the main sergeant involved in this case who did the whole investigation. The case in chief received military orders on May 7th, and he will be unavailable to testify from May 21st, 2023 until June 2nd, 2023, Your Honor.
All
And
right.
this testimony is imperative. It is imperative to this case.
All right, and so where will he be stationed?
I have to double check the orders. Because he did speak to his lieutenant and regarding the testifying, he did say he was going to be unavailable. So.
All right, so this is set for trial on the 23rd. And you're saying that he'll be available, I guess, after June 2nd?
Correct, Your Honor.
All right. So from the 23rd to June 2nd, that doesn't seem a major amount of time, defense. What is your argument?
Your Honor, I would simply point out that, my client's been incarcerated since October, since about 7 months. At our last setting, both the state and the defense, we looked at our calendars and the defense even stated to the court that we'll be ready then. And secondly, on the face of the motion, among other things, there needs to be a statement about the diligence used to procure the witness. And frankly, that's not present here, Judge. And so we just ask that it be denied on those grounds.
Your Honor, I would like to also state that the defendant has been arrested on 10 new additional charges with $100,000 bond on each case, totaling $1 million on some 10 new charges of child pornography.
So, counsel,
Yes, Judge.
the fact that he has other pending charges, the court is not considering that with regards to the motion the motion for continuance. But here's my question for the defense. Are you the attorney on those
No, Your
alleged cases?
I'm not, Your Honor.
Have you received any discovery on those cases?
No, Your Honor.
Actually, yes, he has, Your Honor. It's all the same discovery. And he has been to my office and looked at the discovery.
On the new cases,
Yes.
I'm not hired on those cases. I haven't discussed that with my client.
All right. So this is what the court is going to do, because if this is going to proceed to trial, you probably should view those. Am I correct?
Sure, Judge.
All right. So state, I'm going to make a ruling on this matter on May 23rd. And what I'm going to want to know is two things. One, just to make sure that he has reviewed the discovery and an acknowledgement of discovery is done. And number two, defense, I'm going to want to know whether you would have any objection to state's witness appearing by video as opposed to being in person. And state, I'm going to want to know whether or not your witness is allowed wherever he is to appear by video.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then counsel, as you're aware, we have other cases that are set for trial. So I'm not even sure if this one's going to go because we have other higher settings than his case.
Understood, Judge.
So the court is going to make a ruling on the state's motion for continuance on that day once I get those answers back, and we'll see where we are.
And
Miss,
just for clarification, Judge, so May 23rd, 2 items, we're gonna rule on the motion for continuance and then,
well, 2 items. Number 1, I want an acknowledgement of discovery done, which means even though you're not hired on the other cases, if, and it's an if, I don't know anything about this case. I don't know if that's something that the state is going to be using in its case in chief or not, or something that may be used in punishment if that gets there, because I don't know anything about these cases. I want to make sure that you reviewed all that discovery and are ready for trial.
yes, Judge.
And then I'm going to want to know whether you're going to have any objections to the state's witness appearing by video. And I want to know if the state's witness can appear by video, because depending on where he is, they may not allow that, because I've had plenty of relatives who are in the military. And counsel, I'm sure you're aware, when the military tells you to be somewhere,
Sure, Judge.
you don't get to say, well, I'm in jury trial. So that's what we'll do. We'll come back on that date. So if you all can find out those 2 things from the court. Is there anything else?
I'll let Tor know. He is going to be in New York, New York.
Okay.
Thank you, Judge.
All right,
Nothing from the defense.
All right. Thank you. Norma. So that's going to continue on the 23rd date. All right, is the defendant Christopher Davis on bond? Ms. Ferguson, is Christopher Davis on bond? All right, Ms. Ferguson, I need a reset date on that. Okay, can you let Mr. Davis know his attorney had a medical emergency, so we'll bring him back on June 1st. All right, John Dever, if you can come forward. Oh, come forward, please. All right, good morning. Oh, no, he's in capital murder trial.
Oh, okay.
Do you know, probation, do you know if Mr. Dever has been approved for felony drug court, been accepted?
There seems to be some kind of mix-ups with the felony drug court. They said they didn't get a referral. I did not send a referral because I believe he was to also talk to veterans.
Yes.
So that is not, that evaluation has not been completed by drug court.
All right, can you
have an email out to veterans in court to see if that was.
All right, let me see what I have here. We're going to reset you because your attorney is in a capital murder trial. Do you know where you are with regards to
VA man?
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
Veterans
They say
Treatment
I'm-
Court?
Excuse me, ma'am. They say that I'm at the top of the list. I should be next in line.
Okay, for Veterans Treat.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
I've already seen two officers that you have sent me to. I don't know what she was, but she sent me to the psychiatrist. In Bear County, and she recommended probation also. But they both said that I'm going to the Veterans Court. And I've talked to veterans and I've talked to 2 social workers. And I'm going to classes now for what they asked me to do, and I'm doing everything they asked me to. Plus, I'm taking my own AA classes. I've been.
Okay, all right, just a moment.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So, Ms. Ferguson, let's recall this for next week and see if his attorney can be here first thing next week. So when do you want to recall it? All right, so we're going to bring you back on the 25th. They're going to give you a reset form. You need to make sure that you stay in contact with Veterans Treatment Court, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
And if you need anything from him.
No, Your Honor, and I'll confirm with him where he is on the list.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Mr. Deaver. Deaver.
Paul Duncan. Is there anyone here for Paul Duncan? Good morning. Where's Mr. Duncan?
Williams County.
All right, let's,
Bench warrant is Dr. Williams County, very shortly behind being arrested here.
all right.
Him Tuesday on a call arranged by the jail, so he's still there, probably have to bench warrant back.
State
Yes, ma'am.
on Paul Harley Duncan. Where's this case going?
Judge, so before I knew that he was out of county, I mean, the agreement was to give him a jail sanction for the time that he has and continue him on probation. Probation was telling me there is an issue because he picked up a new theft case in Williamson County, so now they're not wanting to accept the transfer. I don't know if the court's gonna need to, however the court wants to handle that, but we're gonna continue him once we get him home.
All right, if you all are planning on continuing him, then should the motion be withdrawn?
I think that would be a good choice.
So,
I can do that, Judge. I guess my concern, and that's what probation was telling me, is that he's really not being supervised at all right now because that other Williamson County won't accept him.
well, what we could do is then, if you all want to, we can withdraw the motion and have him come back to Bear County, and I can order that. I can do a date for him to be set to appear in Bear County. Or the other choice is, if he's in custody in Williamson County, we can see, Ms. Ferguson, are we able to Zoom? All right, so then what we'll do then is we're going to see if we can Zoom him in. Are you going to have any objections to your client appearing by Zoom?
No.
All right, so Ms. Ferguson, what date? All right, just give me a date. All right, so we're going to come back on June 1st. Defendant will appear by Zoom from Williamson County, and we'll see what we can do.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
All right. What is the order? Who is Thomas? Oh, no, send him back. And then if he doesn't want to do it, file a motion to revoke. Because I've already ordered what I've ordered.
So I asked wonderful this guy.
Well, just have somebody from MAC assign somebody. Yes, okay. All right, just have somebody from MAC to sit an attorney over.
I was working on it, and I did not hear anything on this.
Which one is that?
The one with Mr. Rittenhour.
Oh, we're recalling that for June, what date, Ms. Ferguson? June 1st, and they're gonna see if they can have him Zoom in from Williamson County. So nothing's happening on it. We're just gonna do it June 1st.
Because your concern is that because of the new place, they're not accepting him coming back. Right?
Yes, several weeks.
Okay, that's why I was finding that, Judge.
Yeah. So we'll come back on June 1st. You're welcome. All right, who is here on Jarbe Wyans?
Present on that.
All right, court is calling 2023 CR 0466, State of Texas versus Jarbe Wyans. Can I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Lindsay Shaw for the state.
Defense?
Abelardo Garza.
Are you Mr. Wyans?
No.
All right. You entered a plea of no contest on March 27th. According to the plea, punishment is to be assessed at 6 years in the prison. The state is opposing your application. and they're taking in consideration 2023 CR 0465 and County Court Cause number 692954. Have both parties had a chance to review the PSI report, state,
Yes, ma'am.
defense?
I have your honor.
Any witnesses, state,
None from the state.
defense, any witnesses? Any objections to the PSI report, state?
No, ma'am.
No objections, Your Honor.
All right, state, you are opposed?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you may proceed, state.
Judge, what this comes down to is just,
All right, everyone, please whisper. Everyone, we are on the record. Please whisper. Yes.
when you look at the facts of the case, Judge, what the defendant did was aggressive and violent and scary for this victim. And I think what's telling for me is when you read the stipulations, the police report versus the way the defendant described it in his PSI, there's, to me, the defendant is still not admitting to what happened. He claims in his PSI that he found a backpack and 2 phones in the bathroom, and that someone ran up to him with a pair of bolt cutters and we slapped him because he didn't know what to do. But when you look at the police report, that is not at all how the victim explains what happened that night. In fact, the way the victim states it is that the defendant approached him and stole his backpack, and they got into a fight over the backpack. And the defendant threatened him and said, quote, "I'm about to shoot this dude." So I think I have an issue with the way that the defendant is telling the story and the way that it happened according to the victim in the police report. I know he's young and he has no criminal history, but based on the facts of the case, I don't think it's appropriate to receive.
All right.
May, Your Honor, obviously, this was an incident that there was a disagreement between these two people. He does admit, takes responsibility for his actions, Your Honor. So, okay, there's a question as to how it happened. He does not have a prior record. He's asking the court, and we're asking the court to place him on deferred. He's never had any trouble before. He's willing to do all the outpatient treatment that's required of him. He understands that, and he's taking responsibility. So we're asking the court to do that, place him on deferred.
All right. Just one moment. Anything you wish to say?
No, ma'am.
I'm sorry, is that a no or a yes?
No, ma'am.
You're asking for inpatient treatment. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong file. Just 1 second. All right.
He has admitted to having a drug problem.
All right, this is what the court is going to do. The court is going to find you guilty, sentence you to 3 years in the prison, give you credit for any time served, take in consideration 2023 CR 0465, County Court Cause number 692954. There's to be no contact with Larry Smith Jr. and Travis Martinez. Mr. Wyans, I want you to know that I read the stipulations and I read the PSI report. I never take any of these cases lightly. I never take it lightly when I'm sending someone to prison because, you know, I don't have a crystal ball, but I do review everything. And this was more than just a simple robbery. It was violent in nature. So that's what I'm sending you to, counsel. I will retain jurisdiction. Going to show you what's entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it? And did you sign it? I'm sorry?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, because this is a plea bargaining agreement, because I followed your plea bargaining agreement, and because you waive your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Do you understand? And because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. Do you understand? All right, we can go off the record. And if you are a member of the Wyans family, which you told me last time, you need to start living up to the name. You understand? All right, good luck to you.
Excuse me.
Yes. Who's here? Michael Montoya? Yes.
Judge, I just, I mean, I know that there's gonna be a. One. Once it goes, everyone's gonna be my victims, keep it up with the victim.
Everyone brought them at the same time, because the people that I have in the waiting room are John Fabian.
Yeah.
Martinez. So do y'all want them brought in at the same time?
I'm fine with that.
Yes.
I know that, I don't have any other witnesses, but I don't have any witnesses. At least 2 others.
All right, I'm gonna take up Mr. Beck first, and then I'll do this. Where's his call on? His call.
Sure that, yeah, there's not one more.
All right, we're gonna go back on the record on Mr. Brooks. Mr. Brooks, come on down. So do y'all want them brought in at the same time?
I'm fine with that.
Yes.
Hi.
Hello, Judge.
All right, we're calling back 2021 CR 7353, State of Texas versus Ramon Brooks. Could I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Jason Gearhan, Your Honor.
Defense?
Thomas Beck.
All right, Mr. Beck, your client is refusing to sign the conditions. He would prefer to go into custody and just do his time. Do you understand?
Yes, Judge.
All right. And so defense, are you asking for a new trial with regards to the defendant's sentence?
Yes, Judge.
Any objection, state?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Then the new trial will be granted with regards to the motion to revoke only. Mr. Brooks, again, I'm showing you what's entitled motion to enter adjudication of guilt and revoke community supervision. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it?
Yes, I did.
Are you the same Ramon Brooks, who was placed on deferred adjudication in 2021 CR 7353 for the offense of theft from a person on September 10th, 2021 for a period of 3 years? Is that you?
Yes.
State?
Ramon Brooks.
Sorry, Judge.
Oh, here you are, state.
I didn't know we had to redo it.
Yes,
Thank you, Judge.
you're welcome.
Violated condition number 43 on or about the 14th day of April 2023 in Bexar County, Texas. The defendant Ramon Brooks did then and there fail to comply with the rules and regulations or instructions of the Bexar County Community Supervision and Corrections Department's duly diagnosed residential facility, and that the defendant has refused to participate in the DDRF program services in violation condition number 43.
How do you plead to that? True or not true?
True.
Did you understand by pleading true to violation of condition number 43, the court could find it true, grant the motion, find you guilty, sentence you up to $10,000 fine and 2 years in the state jail facility?
Yes.
Knowing that, do you still wish to plead true to violation 43?
Yes.
Court will find violation of condition number 43 true. Court will find you guilty. The court will sentence you to 2 years in the state jail facility. The court will sentence you to a $10,000 fine. Time and money will run concurrent. Give you credit for any time served. There's to be no contact with Mr. Ice Cream Shop
Yes, ma'am. And Cynthia.
and no
Gutierrez.
contact with Cynthia Gutierrez. Showing you what's entitled trial court certification, which I do not have. Did you fill out a trial court certification, counsel? Another one, please.
735.
You probably want to go around. Show you what's entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal, that you review that with your attorney. Did you understand it and did you sign it?
Yes, I did.
All right, because this is not a plea bargaining agreement, you have a limited right to appeal. That right to appeal is as it relates to the allegations in the motion, not the fact that you were on deferred adjudication. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, good luck to you. When you're released, you need to seek treatment.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Boyd.
You're welcome. All right, the court is calling 2022 CR 5275, State of Texas versus Michael Juan Montoya. Could I have parties approach and announce for the record for the state?
Jason Garahan, Your Honor.
Defense?
Matthew Allen for Mr. Montoya.
Have both parties, are you Mr. Montoya?
Yes, sir.
Have both parties had a chance to review the PSI report, state?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objections to the PSI report, state?
No, Your Honor.
Defense?
No, Your Honor.
Any witnesses, state?
None from the state, Your Honor.
Defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
And who is your witness?
The first witness is Serenity Montoya.
All right, Serenity Montoya, if you can come forward, please. All right, can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, if you can lower your hand, state your name for the record.
Serenity Montoya, SERENITYMONTOYA.
All right, I'm going to need you to make sure you speak up so that the court reporter can hear. All right, defense?
All right. Serenity, how old are you?
I'm 18.
Okay. And are you working right now?
Yes, sir.
Where?
Comfort and suit as a housekeeper and a laundry attendant.
Okay. What city do you live in?
720 Texas.
How do you know Michael Montoya?
Michael Montoya is my brother.
How old is he?
21.
Right. And you know why we're here today, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you've been in court with Michael through this process?
Yes.
Now while the incident happened, you weren't at the house, is that right?
No, sir.
All right. But did you see Michael that day or the day prior? Describe how he was.
Michael just felt like everybody was out to get him. He never wanted to go nowhere else. He just felt like everybody was out to hurt him.
Did you, right before this happened, did you guys go get something to eat?
Yes.
Was
We
there-
did there earlier that day before all this
Mr.
happened.
Garahan.
I took Michael, me and Michael had went to Panda Express. I remember we were there, gonna order food, and we're about to get out. He like hesitated to get out. And I asked him the reason why he was hesitant to get out the car to go eat. That we're talking to people, so then we're putting like, telling them to poison his food.
I'm sorry, I can't hear what you're saying.
Telling, he thought we were associating with the worker, telling them like, that we're poisoning to poison his food. I don't know.
Okay, and just to be clear, were you doing that?
No,
Okay,
I don't know.
right.
She can't hear.
Okay, just it's okay, take a deep breath and then just try to enunciate and you can speak slowly, okay? Okay, just to be clear, you weren't doing that.
No, sir.
All right. Now, tell me about Michael growing up.
He was regular, well, I mean, like, he loves sport, like, I don't know. Me and Mike had the, like, he was my best friend. My brother, like, hard.
Were you
It's hard for me. It's emotionally and mentally hard for me. Like, I want to be here for my brother, but it's hard for me to be up here. I don't know, like, it takes a lot for me to do this. Like I know my brother's life is on the line. I don't know.
How was he as a brother to you?
An awesome brother. He was there when I needed him. And
Would he look out for you?
yes. And I would even know. He was always there. I don't even have to call him up, but he was there.
And
He was,
since this has happened, you become aware of have you become aware of some of the mental health and drug issues that Michael was having?
yes.
Were you aware to that extent before?
Fully aware. But I didn't know. I was aware of some of his drug uses, but I wasn't fully aware of every single one he did.
Right. Have you stayed in contact with him since he's been in jail? Has he expressed that he wants help?
Yes, all the time. Every time he's always asking like, what have we like called anybody for help, or like he wants people to come talk to him. I don't know, he wants help. Truthfully, he wants help. I don't know. He didn't feel
Who do you live with right now?
about with myself, with my boyfriend.
You and your boyfriend? Once
I got my own apartment.
Okay, once Michael is released, now that you're aware of the extent of his issues, will you be there to support him?
Yes,
Will you make sure that he gets therapy and takes medication?
of course.
And do your best to make sure that he's not using any drugs?
Yes.
Is there anything else that you want Judge Boyd to know before she makes a decision on Michael?
No. Leniency, my brother was also like he just show like any leniency for him. Like, he was awesome. He like I've seen like mentally, like emotionally.
All right, so here's the issue. The court reporter cannot hear what you're saying. So I understand that this is a rough time for everyone involved and that everyone is distraught. But if the court reporter cannot hear what you're saying, then she can't take it down, which means it's just like it didn't happen. Okay?
Ask you, so any leniency, my brother. He was an awesome brother.
I'm sorry, you're gonna have to talk louder.
That wasn't him by heart. It's not something he would do. He doesn't mean it. He doesn't show remorse for what he's done. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you for coming.
Next, sorry.
And who's the next witness?
Michelle Hernandez.
Michelle Hernandez. Michelle Hernandez. Can you raise your right hand for me? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right, you can lower your hand. If you'll state your name for the record and spell it, please.
Michelle Hernandez, MICHELLEHERNANDEZ.
All right, defense.
Ms. Hernandez, how old are you?
41,
And what do you do for work?
contracting work with my boyfriend.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna need you to make sure you speak up so that the court reporter can hear.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you live here in San Antonio?
Yes, sir.
How do you know Michael?
He's my son.
Obviously, you know why we're here today.
Yes.
Okay. I guess around the time of this incident and when Michael was arrested, describe Michael's behavior.
Very paranoid, just didn't trust anybody. He was always to himself.
On that day, do you know if Michael had used drugs?
Yes,
If you know, what did he use?
marijuana and methamphetamine.
During this time period, was there anything else that, as far as Michael's behavior, that now maybe?
Just one moment. Counsel, I can't have you all talking behind the court reporter.
Sure.
You need to move him down to the other end. So you all can speak, Mr. States, and you all can speak in the box, but it just needs to be on that end. You may continue, counsel.
Thank you, Judge. Looking back now, that it may be red flags about his behavior.
I don't,
Was he, did he or someone ever call the police about people outside?
There was a couple of incidents when he thought there was a few, like 10 guys, he said, so he's like, we're outside trying to kill him, when there was no one outside. He called the cops three times in one night.
And, you know, with those types of behaviors, do you know, obviously, you know, Michael was using some drugs during that time.
Yes.
Now, describe Michael growing up as a child.
Very athletic, loving, caring, he's a hard worker.
Did you have problems with him?
No, none.
At the home, where is Michael's biological father?
I don't know.
Okay. Were there any issues with his biological father at the home?
Yes.
Okay.
There was violence with him and I.
And did Michael witness some of that?
Yes.
Did he witness alcohol abuse?
Yes.
Did he witness people using drugs?
Yes.
And would you guys always be at the same house, or sometimes you'd have to go stay with his grandmother?
Whenever his father and I would, I'd take them with me to my mom's.
Before this, was there any traumatic events? Did he lose anyone that he was close to?
His best friend.
His best friend.
Like 4 years, I believe, ago. And ever since then, I've seen him go a little downhill.
What about anyone in your family?
My brother, he was close to as well.
How long ago was that?
It was a year before that,
Um,
before his best friend.
and have you stayed in contact with Michael since he's been in jail?
Every day.
Is there anything else? Or I guess, let me ask you this. You brought with you a notebook here today, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, and what's in the notebook?
It's just pictures of Michael, a few of them that I have left over. I lost a lot of my things. And they're him growing up with other family members or friends.
Did we tender it to the court?
With that.
Any
Judge,
objection?
I've viewed it. There's no objection.
All right, the court will review that, and I know how moms are about photographs, at least how my mom is. So I'm going to review it and then I'll return it to you.
That's my next question, Judge.
Yes.
Now, look, through the years, I guess, is this the same Michael during that time period, even a few months prior? Was that the same Michael that you knew growing up? Did you notice behavioral changes? Were you aware of his mental health and the extent of his drug abuse back then?
No.
Okay. Now that you are aware, you think that he needs help?
Yes,
Has he expressed a desire to get help?
yes,
Has he expressed remorse about what's happened?
yes.
Is there anything else that you want Judge Boyd to know before making her decision?
Just thanks for this one.
Mr. Brown?
Is that again? Sorry, she
No,
couldn't take
just
it.
thank you for listening to.
No,
Say.
thank you so much for coming in.
And the prosecutor may have some questions for
Okay.
you.
I just got a few quick
Yes.
questions. Your Honor. One, did you know the victim in this case?
Yes,
How was the victim?
he's a good friend.
A good man?
Yes.
Okay. Didn't deserve what happened to him, is that correct?
No,
Okay. And you're not aware of your son's drug use, is that right? The extent of it, that's what.
not the extent of it, no.
Okay. But you used methamphetamine with him that same day. I'll
Okay.
move on to that next question. The fact is that your son even admits that he used on a daily basis, that he lived with you, he used marijuana, he used meth, and he used Xanax on a daily basis.
I didn't know of him doing all of those.
And you stated he had a good childhood. I saw the photos. And that he viewed some physical violence between you and your husband,
Yes,
and some physical violence between you and your boyfriend. Or boyfriend, one of your boyfriends,
well, okay, yeah, maybe once,
maybe once, so not an extended period of time.
yes,
Was he ever abused in the house?
no,
Sexually abused in the house?
no,
Was he ever sexually abused by anyone?
no.
Abused physically by anyone?
No.
Abused emotionally by anyone?
And I know.
So the only time you saw the difference in his behavior is when he started using drugs on a daily basis since the age of 18 years old.
No,
You saw behavior before that you didn't
no,
mention yet.
I just seen the behavior change when his best friend and my brother passed on.
How old was he?
I believe he was 16.
16.
Mhm.
So he started using alcohol back in sixth grade. You're aware of that, aren't you?
No,
That's what he stated.
no,
So you're not aware of that. Where were you at during this time when he was in sixth grade and started using alcohol on daily, or at least
he
weekly
was at my mother's house.
at your mother's house?
Yes.
Where were you?
I was not living with them there.
Okay, no further questions, Your Honor.
Any other questions?
No, Your Honor.
I do. A question wasn't asked, wasn't answered. Were you using meth with your son? That's either yes or no.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Any other questions?
No,
All
no, no, stay.
right, defense, call your next witness.
Sure, just 1 minute. Call Edward Charles.
Edward Charles. Can you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
All right, if you could state your name for the record.
With Philip Charles Jr.,
All right, defense.
Thank you. Mr. Charles, how old are you?
40 years old.
And do you work?
Yes,
What do you do for work?
I'm a subcontractor, residential homes.
All right. How do you know Michael?
I've known him from his mother. We've been dating for 4 years.
Okay. And so you've known Michael about 4 years?
Yes,
All right. You know why we're here today?
yes,
And you were actually there when the incident happened.
correct.
And I think the prosecutor asked, so I'll ask you, I mean, was there, you weren't being attacked or anything? There wasn't,
No.
to your knowledge, there was no reason for Michael to do that? Around that time period, either that day or even a few days prior, did you notice any behavior issues or red flags about Michael?
He became distant from me and his mother. He would leave with his sister and the boyfriend, and he'll come back and tell us like they're acting weird, as if they were planning something, plotting something against him. And then whenever he would leave with them, vice versa, he would tell them about us plotting something against him. He just thought everybody was against him. He was very unsecure with everything. Even kind of expressed he thought we were tied with them to poison their food. And
Was that the incident that Serenity was talking about?
yes, sir. That was like the same day. That's what I brought it.
Okay. I mean, when he wasn't like that though, what type of person was Michael?
He was great. He was loving, caring, asking everybody for help, or if they need help, asking me. He went on several jobs, at least over 10 jobs with me working.
So the Michael that day where the incident happened, was that the Michael that you had seen, or did that shock you?
It's not, Michael wasn't himself that day. That day he wanted to leave that day, and I talked to him into staying. I'd give him a schedule throughout the following week, and we got back to work. And we were real bonded that day. He always distanced himself from me, as if I was against him or if I didn't like him. Then I'll talk to him, and then he'll realize like I'm here for him, I'm here for the family. I love Michael. He's like my child.
Is there anything else that you want Judge Boyd to know about Michael before she makes a decision?
That day, Michael wasn't himself. I hear him on the phone now, and that's Michael. Very kind-hearted and always looking out for others. And that day when it happened, he made a comment to me saying, "You didn't tell me to do it. You didn't." And from that moment, like I was upset with him, thinking that what would make you think I would tell anything like that? That's he was my friend. It's just I was so confused. I was lost. Started yelling at him like at the scene. I was very upset and lost, confused, and I didn't know what was going. It was mine. Me and his mother been trying to figure that out this past year. That's it. He needs help.
Thank you. The prosecutor may have some questions for you.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Mr. Charles, I just want to clarify, you knew the victim and that he worked on other jobs for you, or worked with you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And so, no, sorry. And the fact is that particular day, he was not threatening to you. He didn't try to hit you that you saw, and he didn't try to attack the defendant in this case, Mr. Michael Montoya.
No, prior to that, Mayor,
Yes.
prior to that, they were outside. But 15, 20 minutes prior to that incident, they were outside talking, and then I tried to butt in their conversation as they're both Michael's family, Paul, my friend, and they were just ignoring me because they're having a good time. They were laughing. I just forget y'all, and I walked inside.
In fact, in these ring cameras, you're aware of the ring camera videos that were supplied by the homeowner. In this case.
Yes.
You can see that three of y'all standing out there and there was at least a cigarette or something smoking that was passed around. Is that right?
That is correct.
And what was that?
That was a blunt,
What?
a blunt, a
What-
marijuana blunt.
Okay, so marijuana.
Yes,
And so prior to that, nothing had happened, nothing transpired between the defendant and the victim. Is that correct?
yes, that is correct.
And when y'all went into the house, you left the house and then the defendant, Michael Montoya, shot at the victim 3 different times. You're aware of that?
That is incorrect.
That's incorrect.
I was in the same room when Michael shot Paul.
So were you watching it happen?
Negative, no, sir.
So you were turned around?
I was kneeled down into a file cabinet.
So you were there when it happened?
Yes,
And what happened after that? After he was shot?
I couldn't get up at that very moment. When I was able to actually stand up, I turn around. I see like a tunnel vision. Michael on the other side of the doorway. I never saw Paul. And I saw Michael with the handgun, not facing at me, or he just had it tilted downwards.
Mhm.
Like if he didn't know, he didn't have no response to what he did at that moment. And I was terrified. I didn't know what was going through his head when he started hearing, Michael, what did you do? Michael. And he snapped out of it, and then he realized he had the gun in his hand. And what do I do? What do I do, Doc? What do I do? I said, put the gun down. And then it was a 5-gallon bucket. He put it down. When he put it down, and that's when I charged him, and I saw Paul on the side of the doorway folded up. Yes,
And then you're the one that called the police, is that correct?
his mother.
His mother called the police. And then you waited for the police there, is that correct?
We both did.
Well, but Michael did.
Michael left.
And
Came back,
you're, I'm sorry,
but came back.
right. You're aware of his drug use though?
Yes.
I mean, that night you smoked marijuana. wasn't it?
Yes, I did smoke marijuana.
Are you aware of his other illicit drugs like Xanax?
I'm aware, we tried not to, any type of other drug in that, I didn't prove any of that. I didn't,
Well, you're aware of the meth use, obviously,
yes, I'm aware of it.
and you're aware of the marijuana, you're aware of alcohol use.
The marijuana, I did smoke.
Right. I'm not
No,
working
but-
on that, but you're aware that he used it quite a bit.
I don't know about quite a bit, but yes, he did use it.
Can you describe to the judge the demeanor of Michael when he was on meth?
He if he was on meth or marijuana or sober, he was still the same in my perspective, but his thought process, if it was negative, it would be 10 times worse, or if it was positive, it would be 10 times. That's positive. It would just enhance of the mood he was in.
What I'm trying to get to is the fact is you see a marked difference in his attitude now. Is that right? When you talk on the telephone?
Yes,
So he's not on drugs now.
he's on anxiety.
Well, I'm sorry, he's not on meth.
No.
Okay,
no,
and he's not smoking marijuana, right?
correct.
Okay, so there's a difference between him being where he voluntarily goes out and does Xanax, that's not prescribed to him. When he does meth, that's not prescribed to him. When he does marijuana, when it's not prescribed to him. When he's out in the world doing all these drugs, he's a different type of person.
Yes,
And now he's a different person because he's not on all those drugs.
that is true. None of us understood his medical condition that we believe that he has
Mhm.
now. And I'm no doctor or whatnot, but I feel that he used that to help him cope and I myself, I've been incarcerated. The reason I'm saying that is, but it took me, I understood about myself by getting help from the system. They put me into rehab, and I understand a lot about myself from there and whatnot. I just believe he was myself.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Nothing further.
All right, thank you. Defense, call your next witness.
Dr. John Matthew Fabian, I believe he's present via Zoom.
Yes. Any objection to Dr. Fabian testifying by Zoom statement?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Dr. Fabian, if you could unmute and show your video, please.
Okay, hello, Judge.
Hello, if you could raise your right hand for me, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I swear.
All right, you can lower your hand, state your name for the record.
Sure. My name is John Matthew Fabian.
Defense?
Thank you, Judge. And Judge, you have a copy of his report?
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Fabian, just what are you licensed in, very briefly?
Just briefly, clinical psychologist. I'm licensed in about 7 states. I'm board certified in forensic psychology, clinical psychology, and I'm fellowship trained in clinical neuropsychology.
All right, and you performed an evaluation on Michael Montoya?
I did, yes.
And you performed different tests on him?
I did.
And what did you use in your evaluation for your report?
Well, I saw him on October 14th, 2022 and December 19th, 2022. And I conducted both neuropsychological and psychological tests with Michael. And there are a number of them, in addition to, some of his history and as to why I did do testing of that nature.
And I guess just to go kind of in order of your evaluation here, you go through background and family history. What stood out in the background family history portion that you think is relevant?
Sure. So, Your Honor, briefly, Michael had, come from a very dysfunctional background. There was domestic violence, physical, verbal, between mother and father. Mom eventually left father. And then, she connected with a boyfriend. And there was then domestic violence between boyfriend and mom. So he witnessed quite a bit of domestic violence and chaos growing up. I would note that during my evaluations, he struggled with really expressing thoughts and feelings, in part because just of poor verbal skills, poor language skills. And really, he's never dealt with any of these trauma-based issues. I would also highlight more on page 3 of my report that mom did have a history of substance use. And there, again, was a lot of instability in the home. He moved around frequently to different family members. And, there was, in my opinion, some evidence of neglect. The family was impoverished, very poor. His father had a history of incarceration, chronic alcohol, methamphetamine problems. He'd been in Bexar County Jail, in my understanding, multiple times. And then in addition to that, residential chaos, family chaos, instability, he reported being shot at when he was age 18. And then we turn into his developmental history, and he perceived, endorsed symptoms of ADHD. It's my understanding he was never properly assessed or treated for it. He had difficulties academically with school, with comprehension. Although my understanding, he was never formally placed in special education, but he attended a number of different schools. and that school instability was similar to residential and family instability. Should I keep going, counselor?
Well, let me ask you about
Counsel, just so you know, the court has read his entire report. I
Okay.
always read everything.
Okay, then I'll try to ask specific, more specific questions then. Dr. Fabian, you talk about physical and emotional abuse that he witnessed. You talked about drug and alcohol use that he witnessed at a young age. Now, how does that affect somebody, even if that person themselves is not the person being physically abused? How does that affect someone at that age?
Well, it's not a good effect, obviously. There was chaos in the home, plus, social learning, modeling of substance use. His mother had been using drugs in the home, it's my understanding. And then he eventually was using methamphetamine with her, even the day of the offense. Parental substance use genetically and environmentally places an offspring at risk to use and abuse substances as well. And, it was clear that he had been using in the home methamphetamine the day of the offense with family members.
And so you talked about modeling. So is that if you see your parents doing that, that's something that you think maybe you should do, or you mimic that behavior later on?
Yeah, so the research is clear that that offspring are more likely to use and abuse substances if their parents, do as well. And both parents did struggle with methamphetamine use, the biological parents and the boyfriend that mom had as well.
Now, because of those issues, I think you diagnosed with PTSD. How does that affect somebody having PTSD? And would someone even know that they have that?
Well, no, not in these particular circumstances. Typically, individuals of, low socioeconomic status, just a lack of education as to these issues. The family and the individual typically are not aware of that. And in this case, it's my understanding he had never been evaluated by a mental health professional. And in my opinion, there was no insight by family or resources to do so. And I know that on page 7 of my report, we look at more evidence of polytrauma with there's different types of abuse and neglect that he witnessed and or experienced. And, early in childhood. So he was never evaluated for PTSD and would not know that he had it. And then when I did examine him, it was clear that he did have evidence of PTSD.
And I think you mentioned before, it might be even more difficult since he had trouble expressing emotions and feelings.
Yeah, and that's due to not only the not having done it before, due to mental health issues of PTSD, often avoidance of dealing with those negative trauma-based thoughts, feelings, using substances to self-medicate, but also, in my opinion, he has a language-based learning disability that was not diagnosed.
And you said using substances to self-medicate. So you're aware of the extensive drug use and alcohol use by Mr. Montoya. How did that affect his behavior and such?
Sure. So I have diagnosed him, with PTSD, ADHD combined type, and then language learning disorder. And then we have on page 18 of my report, methamphetamine, alcohol, cannabis, and Xanax use disorders. So there is clear evidence that, he had never been assessed, treated for mental health issues or conditions that he does have. And, in my opinion, there was evidence that he was, self-medicating with the use of stimulants and then downers, benzodiazepines, and the other substances, to essentially make him, self feel better, and also treat the psychiatric symptoms that he does have. And this eventually led to a methamphetamine-induced psychosis with psychotic symptoms mimicking schizophrenia.
And that was going to be my next question. So the prolonged use of drugs, and in this case, methamphetamine, how does that affect someone's brain, their thinking, their reasoning?
Sure. So, I mean, it simplistically, methamphetamine is a psychostimulant, and it's going to be affecting, like many substances, the reward center of the brain, the limbic system. But with this type of drug, it also affects, I'd say, the temporal lobes, which in part houses schizophrenia. That's where that disorder, psychiatric disorder, when it's present, originates. And it also has similar effects with neurotransmitters within the brain as schizophrenia. So in essence, in this case, his methamphetamine use manifested into psychosis. And it's my belief and perception based on my evaluation that he was, substance-induced, methamphetamine-induced, intoxicated, and psychotic at the time of this offense.
And with therapy and maybe prescribed medication, and then obviously staying sober, are these things or behaviors that Mr. Montoya might be able to change?
Well, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, in a lot of these cases, when I go to my last page of this report, or actually page 20, Your Honor, I look at this as basically a tri-diagnosis. A lot of times these individuals, these defendants I evaluate, really have never had a look or an evaluation until it's forensically based in court. And in my opinion, he had neurodevelopmental disorders of ADHD and language disorder. I would say with mild brain dysfunction, he has evidence of PTSD and, polytrauma. We call it complex trauma, very intense PTSD that was really never assessed or diagnosed. And then chemical dependency problems, and they do their collective in combination certainly affects his life in a number of ways. So, he needed this evaluation to figure out really what was going on with him, and developmentally and currently. And then as far as the treatment, yes, I mean, he does need psychiatric medication management for the ADHD and PTSD, trauma-based psychotherapy that's long-term, and chemical dependency treatment programming. And hopefully the effects of methamphetamine will not then develop into a full-blooded schizophrenia condition.
And so to maybe sum it up, the undiagnosed mental health can lead to looking, and the modeling that you talked about from his parents can lead to using drugs and alcohol to treat those conditions. And then that prolonged use leads us to where we are today. Is that?
No question. And it is a biopsychosocial phenomenon, but I mean, he also lived in a very impoverished environment where there was drugs, alcohol, violence within the home and in the community. So yeah, he was at high risk to develop substance use problems.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Fabian. I'll pass the witness.
Any questions?
Yes, Your Honor. Dr. Fabian, I'm Jason Guerra, a prosecutor for the state.
Hi.
Thank you for being here today. I guess my question is, you evaluated him. Did he ever state at any time that he was forced to use methamphetamines?
No, he was not forced. He was an adult as well. It's my understanding. So, no one forced him. I mean, I think there was some influence if he's using substances of his parents or his mother, but no one forced him.
Okay. And then also on the last line of your report, page 20, last line, it states that at a portion here, it said he had a break of contact from reality and was hallucinating and was markedly paranoid at the time of the offense. Can you describe to the judge, what do you mean by hallucinating?
Well, he had endorsed what he thought was auditory hallucination. And as I say, I think on page 18, it says, I just remember Edward telling me what to do. And in my estimation, there was evidence of paranoia and auditory hallucinations, but they were substance induced based on methamphetamine.
And you're saying this was substance induced psychosis by methamphetamine.
Yes, it's my understanding that he had used about a month straight, and, binge use and use the same day. So I cannot say that this was separated or differentiated from any type of schizophrenic condition. I would have to say it was methamphetamine induced psychosis.
I mean, so you're not saying that he is schizophrenic, had this since he was a child or anything like that, because his mother testified just earlier that he had a good childhood. We saw several photos. I know that you're not privy to these photos of his childhood and his support system.
No, I'm not. I'm sure he had happy moments in childhood. I do question the consistency of that, but.
Okay. No further questions, John.
Nothing further.
All right, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you, Dr. Fabian.
Thank you. Thanks, Your Honor.
All right, any other witnesses to this?
No, Your Honor.
State, any witnesses?
No witnesses, Your Honor.
All right, any arguments?
Yes, Judge.
All right, brief argument.
Yes, Judge. I'll make it brief. The court's aware we provided the report for Dr. Fabian. Look, Mr. Montoya, Michael is a 21-year-old with very limited history of any crimes. He was a normal young person, and then things outside of his control at that time when he's younger influenced him, and unfortunately influenced him in such a way that partly led us here today. And I don't say fully because he was an adult, he has to make those decisions. But he witnessed physical abuse, verbal abuse, he witnessed alcohol use and extreme alcohol use. He witnessed drug and methamphetamine use not just friends, we're talking about people that were supposed to model good behavior instead be a support system, and instead, like Dr. Fabian said, modeled behaviors which he mimicked later on. If we look at his statement in the PSI, now that he's been in custody, he's had time to reflect, we've gone over things. He admits one of the statements he says to the detective, no, that person didn't do anything to me. Again, we're not trying to say that it was self-defense or anything like that. He wanted to take full responsibility for what he did. And he's doing that here today, and he continues to do that. But drugs, there's no question that the behaviors he witnessed in his childhood, combined with the drug use, affected his brain and his thinking, just like Dr. Fabian said. And Dr. Fabian said, well, with therapy and prescribed medication, continued treatment, and obviously staying sober, that he can try to change those behaviors and that way of thinking. And I think we've heard a little bit that it started going that way. Again, I think just the biggest thing is that he, from a young age, he has outside influences that were not even just neglect, but showing him the absolute wrong things to do at a young age, and how that impacted and influenced him to create mental health problems that went undiagnosed, that his parents never sought treatment for, that he never got treatment for until we were here today, until he was seen in the Bexar County Jail. There were some warnings from the continued methamphetamine use, and Michael's very honest with his drug and alcohol use, because he knows he needs to be, not only because we're in court, but because he wants and needs to get help and treatment at some point. And I think he's talked about getting an education, finishing high school, continuing to try to seek treatment while he's in prison, because obviously that is where we know that he's going to go under this plea bargain agreement. But again, I think just listening to Dr. Fabian and at a young age, it's easy to say, well, you were young and your sister's fine, so why can't you be fine? But that's not the way the world works.
Oh, I never do that.
That's not, I appreciate that. It's not the way everybody's brain works and develops. And so unfortunately, we're here today. He's very remorseful. He's very sorry for what he did. There's no getting around that. But we did want to bring the court some other things that were going on. We asked the court to take that into consideration and sentence Michael to 15 years.
All right, state.
Your Honor, for one, the defendant, we saw the photos that were presented to the court, and I know that is a snapshot, literally a snapshot of his childhood. But yet, there are photos of his childhood, of him growing up, that he had some type of support system through grandparents and other individuals in his life. But he chose, yes, at a young age, not to proceed and take advantage of those people. What he chose to do is drop out of school and cut class and drink alcohol, use marijuana, and things that were detrimental to his mental health, anybody's mental health for that matter. For the fact is even in Dr. Fabian's report, he didn't start using methamphetamines and Xanax to the age of 18 at the time that he was an adult. So that at that point, Your Honor, he's making adult decisions that were detrimental to himself, not because of PTSD, not because of ADHD, because he chose to take the easier way and he wanted to go have drinks. He wanted to go smoke marijuana. The day of, he smoked marijuana with his mom's boyfriend. The day of, he just chose to do methamphetamine. That caused him to be voluntarily intoxicated, that he chose that path. So the fact that defense is asking for a sentence of 15 years is not appropriate in this case. 35 years in this type of case is appropriate because this person chose to go down the path he chose. Granted, everybody has their childhood, everybody has their past. If you really look at what the doctor said and what his parents said, yes, there was some violence in the household. There was substance abuse in the household, but there's many people sitting in this courtroom today that chose different paths. And some of them are on a rocky road, but the fact is they haven't murdered somebody and shot them in the head when that individual is just there to help them. And Mr. Butler was there to help. He was there helping, and he was a plumber. And this is the victim in this case. And that's just a tragedy right there, is that this individual is out there helping late at night, trying to get this house renovated. And this individual decides to get intoxicated off of meth, Xanax, and drinking and marijuana, and shoots him just blindly behind the head. And that right there, Your Honor, deserves a 35-year sentence. Thank you.
All right. So, Mr. Montoya, I want you to know that I listened to everything that's brought before me, and I consider all the evidence that's brought before me. I mean, do you deserve an apology? Yes. And you know why you deserve an apology? Because you had horrible parents in your life. Your mom, horrible parent, still a horrible parent to this day, using meth with you. She was horrible for bringing someone into your life as a stepfather who just got out of prison, using drugs with you. So you have horrible parents, horrible adults in your life. Your grandmother, it appears that your grandmother was trying to help you stay clean and sober, but then you have your horrible mom coming in and allowing you to live with her and use meth with her. That is ridiculous for your horrible mom to be using meth with you and rubber stamping it and okaying it. And then having your horrible stepfather who thinks he's a good stepfather, but there he is using drugs with you. And I guarantee you right now, your mother doesn't think she's a horrible parent, even though she's using meth with you. Your stepfather thinks he's doing a great job, even though he's using drugs with you. So I want you to know that I understand, and I heard everything, and I understand that you had a horrible upbringing. But by that same token, there's a complainant in this case, somebody who is dead, who had family who loved and cared about him, and he's just working, doing a job. This is not a situation where he was doing something illegal or doing something inappropriate. And whenever a life is taken, guess what? Society suffers, because whatever they were bringing to this world, maybe for the benefit of others, we no longer have that. So when I sentence you today, I want you to know that I realize your childhood was horrible. And sometimes people have a childhood that's horrible and they make it out. And you wonder, how did they ever make it out? And then sometimes when children are taken from the hospital to be with their horrible parents, you know that they're going to have a horrible life. And you have had a horrible life with your horrible mother and your horrible stepfather. And I don't know what they're doing with your sister. I don't know if they're using meth with your sister or not. I don't know if there are other grandchildren that people are allowing your horrible mother and your horrible stepfather to be around. So I want you to know that I heard all of the testimony and I listened to it and I internalize it. Okay? So I'm going to find you guilty. I'm going to sentence you to 35 years in the prison, give you credit for any time served. There's an affirmative finding of deadly weapon. Court will take in consideration 665-487 and 673-117. I'll ask for the therapeutic community. And I'll also ask, they do have mental health treatment at the prison. I'll ask for that as well. I don't have any jurisdiction to force them to do that. But if you request it and they see that I'm requesting it, they may be able to do that for you, okay? Going to show you what's entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it and did you sign it?
Yes, ma'am.
Because this is plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement and because you waive your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. We'll go off the record. I know that this seems like a lot of time, and honestly, it is a lot of time, but it's time for you to understand how you got to the position where you are. And it's also time for you to grow and get away from other people. I can't tell you or force you not to have any conversations with your mom, but your mom means you no good. Because if she did, she wouldn't be using drugs with you. If she did, she would have told you, stay with your grandmother. I'm not a good parent because I'm using meth. She still thinks she's a good parent, using meth and bringing a criminal in your life who's using drugs, who on the outside comes in wearing a nice outfit, dressed appropriately for court, but he's still a drug user. And that's who she's bringing around you. The fact that she gave you a father who everybody said was not a good father, then what does she do? She brings boyfriend after boyfriend to be negative influences in your life. So whether or not you continue to have contact with her is completely up to you, but you need to work on yourself, because otherwise, when you get out of prison, and at some point you'll get out of prison, you're going to be right back where you started from. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, good luck to you. Do we have victim impact?
You have victim impact on.
All right, is that, I don't see anyone on, is that Cassandra Castro?
Yes, it is, Ron.
Ms. Castro?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, do you wish to show your video? All right, you may proceed, Ms. Castro.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Let me just click to my thing. Hello, Michael. My name is Cassandra. Sorry. I am Paul's only child. He was my father. And I wasn't sure before today if the two of you actually knew each other or if you just saw him for the first time that night. But let me just tell you a little bit about him that you may not know. He was also a grandfather to my 4 children. He was a father-in-law to my husband. He was a son. And he was a beloved and cherished brother. He was an uncle, a cousin, and a friend to everyone who knew him. My dad was not perfect, but he was loved by so many. He was funny, and he was always ready to have fun. He was an artist. I don't know if you knew that. He liked to draw, and he was a plumber by trade. He is so missed by everyone in our family.
And not being able to talk to him is not an easy thing. When I heard how old you were, my heart was broken. Not just because of the loss of my father, the loss that our family has experienced not having him around, but also because of the loss that I'm sure your family must feel not to be able to have you around anymore. Your life, their lives, and my family's lives will be different because the decisions that you've chosen to make. When I heard that I could speak to you, I wasn't sure what I was going to say, so I prayed about it. And it's taken me a while to get to this place. It's taken me a while to get here, but I want you to know that I forgive you for taking my father's life. That wasn't an easy choice for me to make, but I want you to know that. And it's taken a lot of prayers and tears and countless nights with Jesus to get me there. I was supposed to write a statement about how my father's death has affected me and my family, but I don't see how that's going to help much. What's going to help me heal is Jesus, and he'll walk me through every stage of healing that I need, and that's between him and I. Instead, I want this impact statement to actually have an impact, and the person it would affect is you. So instead, I want to tell you what it is that I hope to get out of this letter. My hope for you, Michael, and I hope you listen right now. My hope for you is that you give your life to Jesus Christ. I pray that you change your story. Your actions do have consequences, and yes, the prison sentence is a long prison sentence. But your life doesn't have to be awful. A life with Jesus is hard, but it is always full of hope and joy and peace despite those hard times. And nobody may have told you that before. I don't know if anybody's ever told you about Jesus in your entire life, but I want to tell you that now. And like I said, I wasn't really sure what to say to you besides everything I've said. And so I had prayed and I just asked God to speak to you through me. And I asked God what he wanted to say to you and to use me to deliver that message. So when I prayed, this is the message that I heard from God to you, Michael. So these are God's words to you. He says, Michael, I love you so much. My love for you runs so deep, more than you could ever know. When you were a baby and a toddler, I saw you. I watched you grow. The plans that I had for your future were great, and they still are. More amazing than you could ever imagine. However, along the way, you've made your own choices that have hurt not only me, but yourself and the people around you. And you've chosen to live your life for yourself and do the things that you want to do. I love you, Michael, and I am devastated that you have chosen a life of sin over a relationship with me. When you know that something is wrong and you choose to do it anyways, that is a sin. And the sin that you have chosen will take you away from me forever. It will take you to hell, and hell is a real place, and it's the most awful place to ever exist. It's 1,000,000 times worse than any prison, and I don't want anyone to ever go there. And if you die in your sin, it will be too late for you, and you will be in hell forever. The penalty, the consequences of sin is death. And it's a spiritual death. And all that means is that you and God were separated forever. I don't want that. I am a holy and perfect God, and I cannot be in close relationship with anyone who is living a life of sin. But everyone sins. So something had to be done. And in John 3:16, in the Bible, it says this: "For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have eternal life." Jesus Christ is my son, and I sent him to earth to die a horrible, gruesome death on a cross, just so that I can be with people forever in heaven. He paid the penalty. Jesus paid the price, and he took the consequences of the sins of the world as if those sins were his own. And he received a punishment for the sins of the world so that people wouldn't have to. Because Jesus was sinless, his sacrifice was perfect. His sacrifice paid the price. And now all you or anyone else has to do is put your faith in my son, Jesus. Romans 10:9-10 says, "If you declare with your mouth, Jesus is Lord, and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For it's with your heart that you believe and you are justified, and it is with your mouth that you profess your faith and are saved." That was everything that I have heard from God.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jesus Garza.
Yes, Judge.
So he's in federal custody. Hi. He's in federal custody?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So what's the update?
I don't have one.
I was up here, so I don't know. If you'd like me instead, I could check my file or my JD to see if it's on there.
All right. Or we could recall it because I mean, he's not here.
And that's fine, Judge. I mean, I can still look and that says the end.
And I did talk to Paul Smith the other day because I knew the setting was coming up. And he said that there's been no movement one way or the other on his case. He's in Oklahoma, but he hadn't pled or anything
Okay,
yet.
so if that's the case, he's still stuck there.
All right, Ms. Ferguson, on Jesus Garza, can I have a 45-day reset? Is that okay,
That's great.
counsel?
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Judge.
Yes. All right, we'll be back on July 13th.
Thank you, Judge. May I be excused?
Yes, you may be excused. Andy Fuentes. All right, what's happening with this case?
Your Honor, after further conferring with counsel, it's come to the state's attention that there are multiple possible witnesses that were not interviewed by police in this case. Therefore, we would be asking for more time in order to send our investigator to the neighbors of the defendant and the complaining witness to determine what, if any, statements they attempted to provide to police and what statements they have to provide to our office.
All right, this will be the last reset for a state for you to speak with your witnesses.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Ferguson, can I have a 30-day reset on Fuentes?
Judge, if I may, we're also going to be sending out an investigator to interview some of these witnesses as well. And it may take some time, and I understand that you want to move your docket
All right, Ms.
forward.
Ferguson, can you do a 45-day reset? July 6th?
Yes.
All right,
Judge.
we'll see you all back on July 6th. Ms. Ferguson, we'll give you a reset form, then you're excused.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Judge.
All right, Ebenezer Ibanez is set for June 1st. Yes.
Bond setting. That one. May I approach you?
Yes.
This is the one where state and defense had agreed to double the original bond amount. 20,000. He was in court on Monday, I believe.
All right, Ms. Ferguson, can you see if Judge Nahara can take this up very quickly?
He's in the 379.
Oh, Judge Nahara?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, he'll be able to do it. They just, I think sending this sheet over will be enough.
I've signed it.
Yes. So we'll send you there, okay?
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, ma'am. And the date was?
June 1st. Alejandro Trevino. Alejandro Trevino. All right. Guadalupe Gutierrez.
Judge, defense and I have worked that case out. Ms. Efron, she hasn't taken the paperwork yet.
Okay, all right, thank you. That's gonna be a plea. Dean Villarreal. Counsel, is there a reason you're standing there looking at me? All right, Dean Villarreal. What is happening with this case?
This case was set for discovery for CPS records. We have received those and we are in the process right now currently of putting them on a disc. I know counsel stepping in for Mr. Goss, who has been in touch with Ms. Mitchell regarding plea negotiations.
All right, Ms. Ferguson, can I have a 30-day reset state on that date you need to provide an offer?
Yes, Your Honor. And I believe we also tendered a discovery.
Acknowledgement.
Discovery.
All right, thank you.
Jason's on with the sick baby, Your
Okay. All right, we're going to come back on June 20th. At that time, the state will provide an offer, then it'll be a quick turnaround for a plea deadline date.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Who is here on Thomas Bell?
I am, Your Honor.
Yes. Where are we on these cases, counsel?
We have an agreement. It's a plea, and we do not need probation.
Okay. All right, is he the one with 3 cases?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, we'll take these one at a time. Then court is calling 2020 CR 0497 State of Texas versus Thomas Allen Bell. Can I have parties announced for the record for the state? Defense?
Joseph Stateson for Thomas Bell.
Are you Mr. Bell?
Yes, Your Honor, I am.
And that cause number showing you what's entitled motion to revoke community supervision. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
Are you the same Thomas Allen Bell who was placed on community supervision in cause number 2020 CR 0497 for the offense of possession of a controlled substance penalty group 1, 4 grams to 200 grams on April 16, 2021 for a term of 10 years? Is that you?
I am, Your Honor.
State?
Violated condition number 5 in Bexar County, Texas, the defendant Thomas Allen Bell did then and there fail to report to the supervision officer as directed for the month of October 2022, November 2022, December 2022 in violation of condition number 5.
How do you plead to that? True or not true?
True, Your Honor.
We'll waive all remaining violations.
Did you understand by pleading true to violation of condition number 5, the court could find it true, grant the motion, sentence you to 8 years in prison? Did you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
Knowing that, do you still wish to plead true to violation of condition number 5?
I do, Your Honor.
Court will find violation of condition number 5 true. Is there an agreement?
Yes, ma'am. The agreement is that the MTR be granted, he be revoked from community supervision. His underlying sentence be reformed to 4 years TDC.
Is that the agreement?
It is, Your Honor, and I had a few dates and patients put on the record.
All right, you may put those on the record.
And this would apply for the other clause members. There's 3 that he'll be entering the plea. All 3 have the same dates. April 4th, 2022 through April 22nd, 2022. January 19th, 2022 through March 7th, 2022. July 22nd of 2021 through January 19th of 2022.
All right, and did he successfully complete the inpatient?
He did, those were completed. And I believe in total on all of these cases, he has additional back time credit that's visible in the Bexar County system. We ask for all time credit applied towards the sentence.
All right, are you asking the court to follow the agreement and are you waiving your right to appeal?
I am, Your Honor.
All right, the court will grant the motion, sentence you to 4 years in prison, give you credit for any time served, credit for any inpatient treatment that was successfully completed. It will run concurrent with 2020 CR 3148 and 2020 CR 3638. Going to show you what's entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it? And did you sign it?
I did, Your Honor.
Because this is a plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement, and because you waived your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Do you understand?
I do, Your Honor.
And because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you need to speak to an attorney. Do you understand?
I do, Your Honor.
We're proceeding in cause number 2020 CR 3148. Mr. Bell, I'm showing you that document. Did you review it with your attorney? Did you understand it?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
Are you the same Thomas Bell who was placed on community supervision in 2020 CR 3148 for the offense of theft of property, $2,500 to $30,000 on April 16, 2021 for a term of 5 years? Is that you?
Yes, Your Honor, it is.
State.
Violated condition number 5, in Bear County, Texas, the defendant Thomas Allen Bell did then and there fail to report to the supervision officer as directed for the months of October, November, December 2022 in violation of condition 5.
How do you plead to that? True or not true?
Sure, Your Honor.
We'll waive all the remaining violations.
Any objections? Did you understand by pleading true to violation of condition number 5, the court could find it true, grant the motion, and sentence you to 2 years in the state jail facility? Did you understand?
I did, Your Honor.
Knowing that, do you still wish to plead true to violation of condition number 5?
I do, Your Honor.
Court will find violation of condition number 5 true. Is there an agreement?
Yes, ma'am. The agreement is the court grant the state's motion, reform his sentence to 180 days.
Is that the agreement?
It is, Your Honor, and I've already put the dates on the record that I asked you to apply.
Mr. Bell, are you asking the court to follow that agreement?
Yes, Your Honor, I am.
All right, the court will follow your agreement. The court is going to grant the motion, sentence you to 180 days in the state jail facility, give you credit for any time served and credit for any time served in inpatient treatment that's been successfully completed. This will run concurrent with 2020 CR 0497 and 2020 CR 3638. Showing you what's entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal. Did you review that document with your attorney? Did you understand it? And did you sign it?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
Because this is a plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement, and because you waived your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
And because it is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. Do you understand?
Absolutely, Your Honor.
We're going to proceed now in cause number 2020 CR 3638. I'm showing you the document entitled Motion to Revoke Community Supervision. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
Are you the same Thomas Allen Bale who was placed on community supervision in cause number 2020 CR 3638 for the offense of burglary of a building on April 16, 2021 for a term of 5 years? Is that you?
Yes, Your Honor, it is.
State.
Violated condition number 5, in Bear County, Texas, the defendant Thomas Allen Bell did then and there fail to report to the supervision officer as directed for the months of October, November, December 2022 in violation of condition 5.
How do you plead to that? True or not true?
True, Your Honor.
State.
We'll waive all the remaining violations.
Any objections?
None.
All right. Did you understand by pleading true to violation of condition number 5, the court could find 5 true and sentence you up to 2 years in the state jail facility?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
Knowing that, do you still wish to plead true to violation of condition number 5?
I do, Your Honor.
Court will find violation of condition number 5 true. Is there an agreement?
Yes, Your Honor, the agreement is that the court grant the state's motion, his underlying sentence be reformed to 180 days in the state jail.
Is that the agreement?
Yes, Your Honor.
And I'm sorry, how much time did you?
180 days.
Okay. Are you asking the court to follow that agreement?
I am, Your Honor.
Are you waiving your right to appeal?
I am, Your Honor.
Court will follow your agreement. The court will sentence you to 180 days in the state jail facility, give you credit for any time served in any inpatient treatment, and also any credit for any time served in custody. This will run concurrent with 2020 CR 3148 and 2020 CR 0497. Showing you what's entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it? And did you sign it?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
Because this is a plea bargaining agreement, because I followed your plea bargaining agreement, and because you waive your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Do you understand?
I do, Your Honor.
Because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
Hey, good luck to you. You're gonna have to do better in life. Otherwise, you're gonna find yourself in and out of someone's prison. You understand?
I do, Your Honor. Permission to speak?
Yes.
Your Honor, I just wanted to thank you for being just and fair. That's one thing I know about you is that you are just and fair, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, have a good day.
Thank you.
All right, who's here on Alejandro Trevino?
Courtroom 57.
No problem. Christopher Cantu. Who's the attorney on Christopher Cantu?
Right here.
The attorney?
Yes.
Oh, it's you? Oh, all right. Who's here on Miguel Rangel?
I'm on both of those cases, Judge. I apologize.
I mean, I was,
So Mr. Cantu is in custody.
come down, Mr. Cantu. All right, today's plea deadline date. Where are we?
We have no agreement, Judge.
All right, Mr. Cantu, are you requesting a jury trial?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, state how long will this trial last?
Approximately 3 days, Judge.
All right, Ms. Ferguson, I need a jury trial date on Mr. Christopher Cantu. It is family violence.
You want to do it?
All right, your jury trial date will be July 11th. They'll brought you over dressed in whatever civilian clothing you have at the jail. If you wish to be attired in something else, you need to sign a release for your attorney. Counsel, if there's an issue with the clothing exchange, let the court know.
Yes, Judge.
All right, thank you.
And I'm also here on Miguel Rangel.
All right, Miguel Rangel.
That is off docket, Judge. I was set for trial on May 30th. I had previously filed a vacation notice. I am set to go to California. We have plane tickets, hotel reservation.
Well, I mean, it depends. Does the state want you to enjoy your vacation? I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, he says that he is going to be in California, so he's asking that this be recalled for June 20th. It's set for July 28th. So why are we
Oh,
recalling?
I thought I had noticed that it was set for May 30th. Am I wrong
No,
on
we
that?
have, your client was a fugitive. So then it was set for June 22nd in 2022.
Mhm.
Oh, no, that's July of 2022.
We can set it then too. Judge.
We'd have to go back in time. So he says he's asking for it to be recalled for June 20th because he's going to California. Do you want him to go state?
I don't know.
My kids will hate you.
Okay,
See,
There you go.
that's what you should have started with.
I don't oppose that, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Ferguson, can we recall this case for June 20th, please?
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome. Who is here on one Carlos Torres Rivera?
Present, Your Honor.
Yes. Come forward. What's going on with this?
We just got the plea offer today, Your Honor.
All right.
How
How old is your client? How old is your client? How old are you, sir?
24.
24? All right, Ms. Ferguson, can we call this the week of May 29th for a plea deadline date? All right, on June 1st, you need to let the court know whether or not you're accepting the state's offer. Do you understand? All right, thank you. Who's here on Jose Lozano? All right, what is happening with Mr. Lozano?
Judge, he was on the trial docket on Monday, and we've been recalled every day this week.
For what purpose?
To rule on the motions for continuance to state file, I guess.
No, okay, I remember this now because the pretrial services officer is in the waiting room. And there was some concern over the conditions that the court, at least concerns from counsel, that they would not follow the conditions that the court has set with regard to his employment.
I think that was another client of mine, Judge, Mr. Duenas. I don't think it was Mr. Lozano. We had a protracted hearing on Mr. Duenas' pretrial conditions on Monday as well. And I thought the court was going to issue an order. Maybe, and that's what it was. You asked us to come back because you wanted to hear from the pretrial officer. It's coming back to me now.
Yeah, it's all coming back to me now like the song.
But that's on Mr. Duenas, not on Mr. Lozano.
Ah, so he's here for Duenas. All right, Mr. Lozano, Ms. Ferguson, we need a jury trial date on this.
So,
all right.
Just so we're clear, Judge, the court's granting the state's motion for continuance. Yeah. Just so we'll know for the next time.
Yes.
What was the date?
All right, so we'll be back on June 13th. All right, Mr. Lozano, you're excused.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for zooming in. I'm sorry, this goes to that Carolina. Who's here? Mary Diaz.
Sir.
All right, so today is the plea deadline date?
Judge,
Yes, it is.
Yes, so what is happening with the plea?
she's not accepting the plea bargain, Judge.
Okay, how long do you expect this jury trial to go?
Actually,
It admittedly will be a longer trial. It's got, I would say at least a week-ish.
Any videos that are 13 hours or longer?
There's 7 that are 13 hours or longer
No.
in my discovery. It's got a lot of moving parts, Judge. Well, I'll put it that way. I anticipate going to the jury for punishment. So I would think this trial would last longer than a week, in all honesty. It'll take.
Okay, so I'm gonna, because I see Mr. Bonk is here. Mr. Bonk, how long would this trial last? Usually you're good with your estimations.
6 days, maybe 6.5.
All right, Ms. Ferguson, I need a jury trial date on Ms. Diaz, please. All right, July 11th is your jury trial date. Thank you.
I'll be here.
All right, who's here on Lawrence Medellin? Court is calling 2020 CR 1279, State of Texas versus Lawrence Medellin. Probation, there's no application. Could I have parties approach and announce for the record for the state? Defense?
Karen Corby for Mr. Medellin, Your Honor, defendant.
And are you Mr. Medellin?
Yes, I am.
Counsel, have you received all the discovery and did you review it with your client?
Yes, Your Honor.
Court will find that the state is in compliance with discovery. Mr. Medellin, I'm showing you what's entitled True Bill of Indictment. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it?
I did, Your Honor.
Counsel, do you waive the reading of the indictment?
Yes, Your Honor.
State, are you proceeding on the indictment as presented?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Medellin, I'm showing you what's entitled Court Admonishments and Defendants Waivers and Affidavit of Admonitions. Did you review that document with your attorney? Did you understand it? Did you sign it in all the appropriate places?
I did, Your Honor.
Did you understand you're charged with driving while intoxicated third or more? That's a
did.
3rd degree felony. The range of punishment is anywhere from 2 to 10 years in prison and up to a $10,000 fine. Did you understand?
I understand.
If you have a plea bargain agreement with the state, the court does not have to follow your plea. If for any reason the court does not follow your plea and gives you more than you bargained for, the fact that you entered a plea will not be used against you and you will be allowed to withdraw your plea. Did you understand?
I understand, Your Honor.
Did you understand you have a right to jury trial, a right for you or your attorney to cross-examine and confront any witnesses the state would call in the right to remain silent?
I do, Your Honor.
Did you understand by entering this plea bargain agreement, you were giving up those rights?
Yes, Your Honor.
And did you intend to give up those rights and enter into a plea in this case?
Yes, Your Honor.
Counsel, has your client been able to provide you with any defenses?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you believe he has a rational as well as a factual understanding of the charges against him?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you believe he's currently competent and was legally sane at the time of the offense?
Yes.
Mr. Medellin, has anyone threatened you, coerced you, or placed you in fear to get you to enter this plea?
No, Your Honor.
Has anyone promised you anything other than the plea?
No, Your Honor.
Are you satisfied with the way you've been represented?
I am, Your Honor.
Are you a U.S. citizen?
I am.
Court will find that defendant has knowingly and voluntarily waived his right to jury trial. Showing you the plea bargain page. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it?
I did, Your Honor.
According to the plea, punishment is to be assessed at 3 years in the prison. There are no applications. This will run concurrent with 20 CR 00053 XR1. Did you understand that to be the plea?
I did understand. Your Honor.
Defense, is that the plea?
It is, Your Honor.
State, is that the plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
Showing you the paragraph entitled waiver of appeal paragraph. Did you review that paragraph with your attorney? Did you understand it? Did you sign it in both places?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Did you understand by signing that you're waiving your right to appeal? The only items that can be appealed are written pretrial motions that have been filed, heard, and ruled upon by the court. Did you understand?
I understand, Your Honor.
Counsel, are there been any such motions?
No, Your Honor.
Then to the offense is charged. How do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
No contest.
State any evidence?
State Office States Exhibit 1 and all attachments.
Any objections?
No, Your Honor.
All right, you may continue to confer. Mr. Medellin, I'm showing you what's entitled waiver and consent to stipulation of testimony and stipulations. Did you review that document with your attorney? Did you understand it? Did you sign it in all the appropriate places?
I did, Your Honor.
Again, did you understand you have a right to jury trial, a right for you or your attorney to cross-examine and confront any witnesses the state would call in the right to remain silent?
I understand, Your Honor.
Did you understand that today the state will be presenting evidence in the form of witnesses' statements and police reports, but most importantly, there'll be no live testimony? Did you understand?
I understand, Your Honor.
Court will find that defendant has knowingly and voluntarily waived and consented to stipulation of testimony and stipulations. Court will accept into evidence states exhibits 1 and attachments and review the same. After reviewing states exhibits 1 and attachments, the court will find there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty. The court will find you guilty. Are you proceeding with sentencing?
Yes, Your Honor.
Anything you wish to say on behalf of your client?
Judge, we'd like to ask you to file the plea bargain, but we'd like to make it clear to the court that it is the state's and the defense's intention that he gets credit for the time he spent in federal custody since January 24 of 2020. He's been in continuous custody since then, and he is serving a sentence in federal custody. So he's actually been incarcerated for 3.5 years. The warrant was issued on this case February 10 of 2020. So he's been in jail, basically, Your Honor, for over 3 years. We'd just like, I have all the evidence. I can give it to the clerk, the one to ask the court, since it is to run concurrent with that case that you stated earlier, and it is the state and the defense attention. He gets credit for all the time. We ask that you give him credit for that time, Your Honor.
All right. You need to provide that to the clerk. The court will find you guilty, sentence you to 3 years in the prison, give you credit for any time served, credit for any time served in federal custody while this case was open. There's going to be 2-year Texas driver's license suspension. This will run concurrent with 20 CR 00053 XR1. Going to show you what's entitled trial court certification of defendant's rights to appeal. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it? And did you sign it?
I did, Your Honor.
All right, because this is a plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement, and because you waived your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Do you understand?
I understand, Your Honor.
And because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. Do you understand?
I understand, Your Honor.
All right, we can go off the record. You're going to have to make changes in your life. You understand?
I've already made a commitment to change.
Okay, awesome. Some people cannot drink alcohol at all. There are plenty other things to drink out there. My personal favorite, Sprite with lime or either Coca-Cola with lemon. It gives it a kick. All right, good luck to you, okay?
Thank you, Your Honor. Appreciate you.
You're welcome. Who's here on Eric Diaz?
I am, Judge.
All right, I know you've just been placed on this case.
Yeah, it's set on Monday. I want to see if I can recall it to Tuesday. I had childcare issues.
Oh, childcare issues. Okay.
Daycare is closed.
Oh, daycare, just closing down on people. All right, Ms. Ferguson, he wants this recalled. It's scheduled for the 22nd. You want it recalled for the 23rd?
Please.
All right. Have you had a chance to review discovery and everything with everyone?
I've requested it. I haven't received it yet. It's taking a really long time to get discovery these days.
All right, Ms. Ferguson, then Mr. Diaz, is he on bond or in custody?
In custody, I met with him yesterday.
All right, Ms. Ferguson, let's recall this instead for 30 days for discovery. And if you want to call back sooner, you can have it call back sooner. I know you just were assigned the case.
Okay, sounds good. That works.
All right, June 15th.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, take care.
And the cases I have over here are our last cases unless somebody needs to do a plea. Otherwise, you'll have to come back on a different date and I'll give you all a different date. Igor Alinsky.
Morning, Your Honor. Shed and lock for Igor Alinsky.
All right, so while you're there, you need to be on this side and your client is in the center. What is happening with this case?
So, Your Honor, Mr. Alinsky took a drug test this morning. He has also provided a list of prescription medication to probation. We would like to get a more formal list of prescription medication to probation.
But it says here that he hasn't given them proof of employment, that he's been using alcohol, which you're not allowed to use. There's some issue with the GPS device that's been shutting down. So what are we doing?
We dispute most of that, but they did want him to take the drug test today. He passed except for something he does have a prescription for, which we're going to provide a better copy of to the probation department.
All right, Ms. Ferguson, I need a contested hearing date on Mr. Alinsky, please. All right, June 8th is your contested hearing date.
Thank you.
Thank you. John Albert Sanchez. Come forward. What is happening with this case? We're here discovery for Mr. Sanchez's phone and also for the co-actor's record.
We're here.
This family violence.
Yes.
So what I have on April 6th, there was supposed to be a discovery and the issue was Mr. Sanchez's phone and the co-actor's record.
Defense did not raise that with us. I can look into it.
No, I mean, I'm sure, I think it was probably with Brittany. Is that correct?
Probably. I can look into it.
That's it. All right. Well, Brittany is enjoying Hawaii.
I heard that she was not available. I didn't know she was blind.
So if you, what I can do is because I know that it'll take them some time to see if they have it, we can recall it for when she's back.
That's perfectly fine. Just can we take up a bond issue?
What is the bond issue?
Right now he's on GPS, full GPS allowed to work. We'd like to change it to tracking. And there's health issues with his wife and him. He'd also like to be able to have contact with his daughter.
All right. So what we will do is we can come back and have that hearing with Miss. She's back and she's not going to be in Hawaii forever. Or who knows?
Judge.
You don't, maybe she's the person who won the lottery. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, Miss Ferguson, can you recall this for when Brittany is back, please? And recall it probably like to give her 2 days so she'll know that this is coming up on her docket. May 25th?
Sounds good, Judge.
All right, we'll see you back on May 25th.
Good to see you, Judge.
But of course, we see you always.
Good watching over things, Judge.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome. Have a good one. All right, who's here on Juan Carlos Torres Rivera? Last call. Who is here on Alejandro Trevino? Oh, it was? Okay. I keep getting it back. All right, on this, state was to speak with the complaining witness. It's family violence.
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay. Did you all have a chance to speak?
We did confer, Your Honor. However, this is another Miss Mitchell situation.
All right.
And we're here asking for it to be recalled a week or two, so that way I can actually confer with her.
All right, Ms. Ferguson, what date can we put this on for Ms. Mitchell? All right, we'll come back on May 25th.
All right, thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Have a seat.
Solomon Duenas. I think that's you, Mr. Martinez.
Actually, I have a David Williams.
I know I keep mispronouncing his name. I call him everything but his last name. It takes at least 2 to 3 times for the person to be formally on the docket.
His first name is David. I'm not sure where Solomon came from.
All right. All right, so Mr. Bohack,
Yes.
on Mr. Duenas.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. I was connecting the audio.
All right. So he works. And there is an issue because I'm allowing him to work and sometimes his work schedule may take him beyond where he is because he's not self-employed.
Yes.
And so I just wanted you to realize that I'm allowing him to work, but he has to provide his schedule to you. And if, for example, if let's say somebody tells him he needs to be somewhere today, and then he needs to let you know no later than 24 hours after he's been assigned for work, he needs to provide proof of that to you. Because sometimes his work schedule will take him to different counties. So your client will have to provide that to him no later than 24 hours after. Now, of course, if you know beforehand, then you need to provide that to him beforehand. Do you understand? And if for some reason you're going somewhere that I'm not allowing you to go, or you say you're going to be somewhere and you're somewhere else, we're going to have a problem. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And he knows that he's not to have any contact with the complainant. And if that happens, please send me a violation report quick, fast, in a hurry. All right. Is there anything else, Mr. Bohack? I'm sorry for keeping you waiting so long in the waiting room.
That's all right. I was already aware that he travels for work. He'd already submitted some documentation from his employer stating that he does do vehicle deliveries and part deliveries.
But he still can't be in the air, make contact with the complainant.
Yes, I understand.
Okay.
There's also another question that he raised. He wanted permission to take his kids to school. Which is not on the way to work.
So he wanted permission to take his children, to drop his children off to school. Do you see any issues with that, Mr. Bohack?
No, I've got no issues with that. I just need to make sure it's in writing with the court order so I can make sure there's no miscommunication with the rest of our pretrial staff.
All right, and what I'll do is I'm going to have defense counsel prepare an order, and in that order, it's going to say what time his children have to be at school and when his children school ends, and it's going to have addresses for those school locations. And we'll make sure that you have that.
All right, perfect.
Is there anything else?
Judge, I'll bring that over tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
All right.
Do you need to speak with him, Mr. Bohack?
Oh, no, ma'am. I was just wanted to make sure I was dismissed.
Yes, you're dismissed. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Eduardo Guardo. Where's your attorney? All right, just take a step back. Valerie Castillo. Court is calling 2022 CR 7679, State of Texas versus Valerie Ann Castillo. Can I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Lindsay Scott for the state.
Defense.
Alfonso Otero on behalf of Ms. Castillo. Good morning, Judge.
Good morning. Are you Valerie Ann Castillo?
Yes, ma'am.
Showing you what's entitled Motion to Revoke Community Supervision. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you the same Valerie Ann Castillo who was placed on community supervision in cause number 2022 CR 7679 for the offense of possession of a controlled substance penalty group 1, less than 1 gram on October 25th, 2022 for a term of 2 years? Is that you?
Yes, ma'am.
State?
Violated condition number 4 in Bexar County, Texas, the defendant Valerie Ann Castillo did then and there fail to report to the supervision officer as directed for the months of December 2022 and January 2023 in violation of condition number 4.
How you plead to that? True or not true?
True.
Violated condition number 18, on or about the 15th day of February 2023 in Bexar County, Texas, the defendant Valerie Ann Castillo did then and there fail to complete the Bexar County CSCD's intensive outpatient treatment program in violation of condition 18.
How do you plead to that? True or not true?
We'll waive all the remaining violations.
Any objections?
No, Judge.
Did you understand by pleading true to violations 4 and 18, the court could find it true, grant the motion, find you guilty, and sentence you up to 2 years in the state jail facility?
Yes, ma'am.
Knowing that, do you still wish to plead true to violations 4 and 18?
Yes, ma'am.
Court will find violations 4 and 18 true. Is there an agreement?
No, Your Honor, there's not.
State, what are you requesting?
We're asking that she be sent to safety. Judge, that's just based on the fact that she was placed on this probation at the end of October 2022, and she last reported November of 2022. So I think the supervision and the structure of safety would be beneficial.
Defense, what are you asking for?
Judge, I spoke to the defendant. The defendant is willing and asking me to request from the court that she be placed on the outpatient treatment. She has explained to me the reasons that she has failed to comply with terms of probation. And in a nutshell, it's a lot of economical hardship. She lost her home, phone, and could not get to report and do what she was supposed to do on probation, Judge. And she has been attending eight meetings while in jail. She's got a package of things that she's willing to do. That includes some sort of guidance with some organizations outside the jail to help her get through anything that she needs to do. And that's what she's asking for, Judge.
All right, Ms. Castillo, in this courtroom, I always tell people that if there's an issue, you can talk to probation. If you feel as though probation is not being responsive, all you have to do is come to the court. You did neither. You have a choice. You can either go to the state jail facility for 2 years, or either you can go to inpatient treatment. I'll refer you to safety and also refer you to felony drug court, and you will be in either of those programs. Which would you prefer?
The safety.
All right. Court will deny the motion, alter and amend conditions to include a referral to safety and a referral to felony drug court. That's to take place while in custody. Probation, does she need to be extended? All right.
It expires October of 2024, I believe. In order for her to be in the felony drug court, she needs at least 2 years.
Yes, that is correct. All right, and I'll extend you. Let me see, how long have you been on probation?
Over 2022.
Okay, I'll extend you for 2 years. All right, good luck to you. And again, listen to me carefully. If there is an issue, talk to probation, talk to the court. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Maybe excuse.
Yes. These are the last 2 cases the court is taking up. Then we're going on recess. Who is ever not here, you'll have to come back. Court is calling 2023 CR 2523, State of Texas versus Fannie Stewart. Could I have parties announced for the record?
Jason Garahan for the state, Your Honor.
Defense?
Lisa Garcia for the defendant.
And are you Miss Fannie Stewart? All right, counsel, have you received all the discovery and did you review it with your attorney? I'm sorry, with your client.
Yes, I did, Judge.
You can tell it's been a long day. Court will find that the state is in compliance with discovery. Ms. Stewart, I'm showing you what's entitled application for community supervision. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it?
Yes, ma'am.
Showing you what's entitled true bill of indictment. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it?
Yes, ma'am.
Counsel, do you waive the reading of the indictment?
I did.
State, are you proceeding on the indictment as presented?
We are, Your Honor.
Ms. Stewart, I'm showing you what's entitled court admonishments. Did you review that document with your attorney? Did you understand it? Did you sign it in all the appropriate places?
Yes.
Did you understand you're charged with theft under $2,500 enhanced as a state jail felony? The range of punishment is anywhere from 180 days up to 2 years in the state jail facility and up to a $10,000 fine.
Yes.
If you have a plea bargain agreement with the state, the court does not have to follow your plea bargain agreement. If for any reason the court doesn't follow your plea and gives you more than you bargained for, the fact that you entered a plea will not be used against you and you will be allowed to withdraw your plea. Did you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you understand you have a right to jury trial, a right for you or your attorney to cross-examine and confront any witnesses the state will call in, the right to remain silent?
Yes,
Did you understand by entering this plea bargain agreement, you were giving up those rights?
yes,
And did you intend to give up those rights and enter into a plea in this case?
yes.
Counsel, has your client been able to provide you with any defenses to this offense?
She has.
Do you believe she has a rational as well as a factual understanding of the charges against her?
Yes,
Do you believe she's currently competent and was legally sane at the time of the offense?
I do.
Ms. Stewart, has anyone threatened you, coerced you, or placed you in fear to get you to enter this plea?
No,
Has anyone promised you anything other than the plea?
no,
Are you satisfied with the way you've been represented?
yes,
Are you a U.S. citizen?
yes, ma'am.
Court will find that defendant has knowingly and voluntarily waived her right to jury trial. Showing you the plea bargain page, did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it?
Yes,
According to the plea, punishments to be assessed at 2 years. There's a $1,500 fine. State recommends community supervision, and they will take in consideration 2023 CR 1352. Did you understand that to be the plea?
Yes.
no contest.
Did you understand that to be the plea?
Oh, yes.
State, is that the plea?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
Defense, is that the plea?
Yes,
Showing you the paragraph entitled waiver of appeal paragraph. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it? Did you sign it in both places?
yes,
Did you understand by signing that you're waiving your right to appeal? The only items that can be appealed are written pretrial motions that have been filed, heard, and ruled upon by the court. Did you understand?
yes.
Counsel, have there been any such motions?
No, Judge.
Next, I'm showing you outside the plea bargaining agreement. The state is requesting that your community supervision be for a term of 2 years. There be a top evaluation, 200 hours of community service, restitution, and no contact with the HEB. Did you understand those were recommendations from the state and the court does not have to follow those recommendations?
Yes,
Then to the offenses charged, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
no contest.
State any evidence?
You don't say exhibit on the roll call attachment, Your Honor.
No objection.
Showing you what's entitled waiver and consent to stipulation of testimony and stipulations. Did you review that document with your attorney? Did you understand it? Did you sign it in all the appropriate places?
Yes,
Again, did you understand you have a right to jury trial, a right for you or your attorney to cross-examine and confront any witnesses the state would call in, the right to remain silent?
yes, ma'am.
Did you understand that today the state will be presenting evidence in the form of witnesses' statements and police reports, but most importantly, there'll be no live testimony? Did you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Court will find that defendant has knowingly and voluntarily waived and consented to stipulation of testimony and stipulations. Court will accept into evidence states exhibits 1 and attachments. Court has reviewed the same. The court will find there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty and the court will find you guilty. Are we proceeding with sentencing?
Yes, Judge.
All right, Ms. Stewart,
Yes.
why were you taking baby formula?
Oh, because my daughter have a premature baby, but I have a food stamps. And because I have mental problems, I
Okay,
forgot to pay for them.
okay.
Yes, and Judge, we were going to be asking to maybe have her evaluated for mental health.
Mental health.
All right. Do you have a place to live?
Yes,
All right. I'm going to allow you to do your make evaluation outside the jail. But if you miss any of your appointments, what's going to end up happening is a motion to revoke is going to be filed. You're going to get taken into custody and then either you're going to get revoked or either I'm going to have that evaluation done while you're in custody. You understand?
yeah, I work for the Center of Healthcare Services for mental health.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we go off the record?
Yes.
All right, so according to your plea bargaining agreement, it's going to be a 1240 day with 8 days in the Barrett County Jail and no application. Did you understand that to be the agreement?
Yes.
Does everybody understand that to be the agreement?
Yes, that is exactly the.
Any
agreement.
objections?
No, Your Honor.
No objection.
All right. As previously stated, the court is finding you guilty. The court will sentence you to 8 days in the Bear County Jail under 1244. Give you credit for any time served, and the court will show that the judgment is satisfied. I'm going to show you what's entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal. Did you review this document with your attorney? Did you understand it and did you sign it?
Yes.
All right, because this is a plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement, and because you waived your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right, we can go off the record.
Thank you.
Ms. Stewart, the only reason why I went along with this, and I know the only reason why the state and your attorney agreed to it is because I can see the items that you took were baby formula, and I know there's some mental health issues, but your attorney has assured the court that you're going back to Center for Healthcare Services to make sure that you do that. Here's the other thing. I understand that that's not your child. Do not let people come up to you to try to take the benefits that you have for them. You understand?
Yes.
So if they need benefits, then they'll have to take care of that on their own. You're not supposed to do that. All right.
Okay.
And you cannot go in a store and just take items. I will tell you, if you go to the HEB is pretty reasonable. If you go in and you tell them, or that person who needs baby formula tells them that they need baby formula, they will usually help you with that. Or either you can go to different food banks, the San Antonio Food Bank, they have baby formula. You understand?
Yes.
All right, good luck to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
May we be excused,
You
Judge?
may be excused.
Thank you.
Okay. Tell them to come back at 1:30. Everyone, we're going to take our break. See you all back at 1:30. Everybody needs lunch. And I appreciate you for staying around. I noticed you were here at 9 a.m. and defense was not.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
So I note the